Hello and welcome to episode 99 of the Gamers of the Lost Spark podcast. I'm your host, Darren Whittam, and joining me this week is the other spark on the pod. It's our seaside scholar who would never get his Brightons mixed up with his Blackpools. It's Antony Chesson Unleashed this week, I think.
Hello, sir. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. And not just yourself, Antony, of course. We've got that rare and wonderful treat as we are once again treated to the delightful vocals, views and opinions of the mighty minister of Mario Kart. It's Mr. James Thomas. Hello.
Hello. How are you doing, Darren?
I'm very good. I'm very good. It's nice to get together with you guys, and especially you, James, visiting us once again. So, if we get straight into it, how have you been, James?
I've been good. Recently, it's been a lot of DIY, which I think it's been the same for Antony. So, not much time for gaming over the weekend. We've been redoing the spare room, and the garden is now in a state of disrepair as we have people in ripping up the turf and sorting out a new patio for us.
Wow. Wow. Do you synchronise your DIY, you two?
I think it's just more coincidence. I mean, I'm being embarrassed by how he runs his DIY, though. There's post-it notes, there's Kanban board, there's daily scrums. I mean, Ali and I just basically went, should we go and go to the cheese shop halfway through? I don't know if that would be allowed to fly on Antony's watch.
Oh, no. We have scheduled in afternoon tea for Thursday. So afternoon tea is scheduled in for Thursday. That's a morale-building exercise, so that's allowed.
That's good.
So we're taking Thursday afternoon off for tea. But yes, we have daily stand-ups, because we're doing we're sprucing up the kitchen. So we're probably a year away from actually, or 18 months away from actually kind of ripping the kitchen out and kind of making it kind of the ideal kitchen. So what we thought we'd do is just tart it up, just kind of spruce it up a little bit. So we've taken a week off work, but you're right, James. We are I'm project managing this to the ninth degree. It's good fun.
Well, wow. I think there's a certain level, if you're doing a whole kitchen, I can understand where this project management came out of it, because I did look at the garden when I got back from work today, and as I say, the turf has been ripped up, but the old patio's gone. And you did get me thinking, I do wonder whether the gardeners, when they've gone home, is there a board, is there a checklist they are moving tasks from one column to the other at? Because you can't just attack this willy-nilly.
Exactly, they're probably just going, right, today I'm going to do this, and then that, but that's it, I mean, I even had this when I've just had the roof replaced in my house, and even that, even though there was a project manager from that side, it still needed management, because there was not only that, the back of the house was being painted, the sky dish, there was all of that, and you really do need to kind of keep on top when you're having kind of big work done to your house, I think.
Is this how you tackle your DIY, Daz?
I haven't had any DIY done for so long that I can barely remember how to tackle it. The last DIY I got done, I got my dad to do it. Which I was really lucky.
That's good.
He came down and I went to work, and I'd get home each night and more had been done. And he basically painted the house, painted the interior, made it look nice, and tiled the bathroom, which was awesome. But I sort of don't ask him at the moment, because that was years ago, and I feel it's tight. I feel it's not fair to try to ask him now. And I just, as I've said a few times on the pod, I'm a bit scared of DIY. I'm always reluctant to do it, because I think I'm going to make a mess, not just a mess of it, but just a complete, pig's ear of the whole thing. So I leave things alone, because I'm thinking, if I touch it, the house will just crumble.
I'm completely with you. There are certain things I'm happy to, when we redid the room, it's that was painting, putting up a couple of shelves. It was very basic. I really can't screw this up. But when it comes to plumbing or putting the kitchen in or doing the garden, it's no, these are heavy duty things that I could destroy a wall with, or knock a mains through and either have electricity or water spurting everywhere. There's a fear factor behind DIY for me at a certain level.
Yeah, there is for me. I mean, yeah, you reminded me of an incident. The last time I tried to do something, our shower broke, an electric shower. And anyway,
yes.
Yeah, did I mention it on the pod? I think I may have done.
You did,
you might have had me giggling, yeah.
And that was scary, man. So the guy that doesn't do anything decides to try and fix the electric shower, stood in the bath. Luckily, I turned the electric off, but once the pipe burst and the water was all over me, and the shock of the cold water and it going all down the wall, and then the stopcock didn't work and all the rest of it, I just basically hid.
Fair play for trying to try, though, because I think last time I was talking about pizza ovens, or I might have mentioned it because I know I know, Darren, that UK you've then got a pizza oven recently. But I've been looking at getting one like delivered for the back garden, and they are heavy, big things. Like,
are you getting a big clay thing? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm
nice.
going, but I want one that can stay out there, so it needs to survive the elements. And they're heavy, they're big. They need a truck to get delivered, and where we live, it hasn't got that many nice access routes. It's like got a small pavement outside, and there's a bit of a dirt track going around the back, sort of style, because there's a shared parking space out back that isn't concrete or anything, and so it doesn't seem like we can necessarily get it delivered because it involves like delivery men dropping it off with pump trucks and carrying it into the rolling it into the garden or what have you, because it's like 150 kilogram minimum by the looks of things.
Wow.
You're going to get a crane. You have to crane it in.
Yeah, so the more I look at it, the more I feel my next DIY project might have to be building a barbecue at this point. I've already started having prods from friends at work, like sending me links of this is how someone did it on Tinternet. Here's an instruction manual. Here's a list of bricks you might need. So I was
watching a few of those in preparation to get mine, but I sort of thought, I can't do that. But I totally could have done, and it looked good, you know. One was built with just breeze box, didn't look so good. Other ones took more time on the brickwork. But the main dome, it was awesome because they just built a dome with sand, didn't they? And then put the clay over the top. Have you seen those videos?
Oh, no, I've just seen the ones with fire bricks where they have to build effectively like an igloo out of bricks.
Well, there's these awesome videos I watched, right? Making your own pizza oven or clay oven in the garden. So you build the foundation any old how, and then you need good bricks, I forget, but you'll find out good bricks for the top, you know, to keep the heat. They can't be those bricks with the holes in, for instance. So they go on the top layer, and that's the important bit. And then you can probably just sort of make the rest of it be nice, however you want. Put a mosaic on it with a big J or whatever. But then when you, I bet you like that. Imagine this gaming mosaic you could put around it. And anyway, but the actual dome, and this was the awesome bit. Basically, on your flat surface, they just got loads of sand and made a big dome with sand, and then covered that over with wet newspaper, like papier-mâché almost. Yeah. And that keeps the, I think it keeps the sand wet, because if it dries, the sand will just fall out, and you don't want that. You need to keep that dome. And then you get a big old tarpaulin or something, and a bit like crushing grapes to make wine, you start, there's a name for it, you start paddling the clay. The best way to do it is with your bare feet, with your mates. So you all stand there, tramping, and you get all this clay, and then you pat the clay down on top of the dome that you've created, and then you leave it overnight or whatever, you know, maybe put some plastic on so it's kept out of the rain, and then the next day or so when it's dry, then you put your hands in and you pull all the sand out, and then you've got your dome.
Wow.
And then you cover it with clay mixed with stone stone and stuff, and that gives it a weather resistant finish.
Wow, I'll have to look at that version.
I'll find the link, because I spent hours looking at pizza ovens before I got the uni, and in the end I just wanted the uni because I could put it away. But I'll send you my information. It was really good, and it made me think, because before buying the uni I was kind of like, I'm not going to spend 200 quid on an uni, even though it's really cheap for a pizza oven. I was like, I'll do this, it'll be amazing. But I couldn't think where it would go. And the thing for me was, because the uni fires up in 10 minutes instead of 4 hours, I was kind of like, that'll do. But you get a lot more room in a big pizza oven. You can cook bread and stuff overnight while it's
that's the flexibility.
Heat. Yeah, it's good. So I'll send you the stuff, James. I'll make a note of that.
Cool. Apart from DIY, I think the biggest thing I've done since I last met you guys was managed to go to E3 along with work or so, but that seems like an absolute age ago now. Time has flown since that point. Sorry I didn't catch up with your E3 pod that week. Was it 5.5 hours?
It was epic. It was like,
can you believe it?
It was just so good. It was really hot as well while we were recording it. So what was E3 like? What was LA like, James? What was your standout moments?
The standout moment I always find is the weird bit where you set the show up. Because I think anyone who's been to anything like Eurogamer or Gamescom, any big game show, will get that idea of those huge stands just looming around the hall and all the lights and the music and stuff. But when you actually get first there, and there's nothing but pretty much your areas marked out, and maybe a few walls just to get some privacy between the different booths. It's just a very surreal place to be. There's just like skeletons and carcasses of demo pods and booths and stages being assembled. So it's very nice to see it being built up, but then very equally weird when it suddenly gets stripped down. Like an hour after the show, you could barely recognise any of the booths. They were just ripped down. People just came in from the wings and we just had the screwdrivers and bags of wires out to throw them all back in. So yeah, the most interesting part is the setup and the strip down, just how odd it is compared to the actual show itself.
Seeing the birth of it and then the death of it at the end.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. So I guess you had like a skeleton of the booth, and for your booth you actually had skeletons as well, I guess.
Yes, yes, we did.
So how so do you know, like, kind of stats? How many games of Sea of Thieves did you demo?
I was doing at least 6 hours a day,
right,
personally. As for total, I really, off the top of my head, I couldn't say, but I think we would tend to run from like 10 till 6 most days, and then there were a lot of after hour events, be it for international press or YouTubers or just other media to come in, and there were days where we basically did like 8 in the morning till midnight. So
wow,
I'm not lying when I said I didn't manage to play any other games bar Forza. We managed to blag our way onto the Forza stand to play on their full rig.
Oh, wow.
The seat that jars around and judges you around corners.
Yes.
So we basically camped that as soon as there was an hour gap between the public being kicked out and the press being let back in one afternoon evening. So me and my friend just dashed over there, going like, look, we might do a trade. If we can try and get you on ours, can we have a go on yours? And it was. I've never raced so poorly in my life as well as during that, because I'm not the greatest simulation racer ever. Like I like Forza, I like Forza Horizon, but they're very much games that I dabble with rather than I'm good at. So then throw me in a rig that shakes me around like I'm in just like a tumbler, a cocktail being shaken up, and I went to pieces because every time I turned and then got feedback from the judder, that then caused me to turn a bit more, and so I was just fishtailing all over the place. It took me like half a lap to even take a corner properly, and it was slightly embarrassing, only mitigated by the fact my friend, who is an absolute Forza nut, was having, I wouldn't say the same problems, but his equally high performance was dampened by the rig. So, but just sitting in it, it's, oh my word, if every game could basically be an afterburner arcade rig, that would be amazing. But I don't think Ali will let me have it in the living room.
What a peripheral that would be.
That would be absolutely superb. I think that was the setup that I missed at Goodwood last week, because looking at the pictures, it wasn't until I was on the way home that I was kind of checking Twitter and I saw that Xbox were like, oh, don't forget to go to the Porsche stand and you'll see the Forza 7 rig, and I was like, damn it, because it was all 4K as well, wasn't it? The screen that you were probably not not noticing it because you were all over the place, being slung from left to right. So, but that just sounds so cool.
It was good. It was good.
So you enjoyed it. You had a good E3 trip.
Yes, yeah. There's nothing like showing off your game to give you this real boost, because it's really nice going out there. I mean, when you're back at base, producers and the PR team can try and reassure you that people like your game and that it will be okay. That's one thing, but when you actually get to go out there and demo it and see that reaction firsthand, it really lifts you. And I think a combination of just the enthusiasm we got met with and just the fact the game was different every time we demoed it, because you put 4 different people on Sea of Thieves, they're always going to go in different directions, want to do different things like quests or battles or what have you. And so it meant that every session I did was different. And those 6 hours just flew by every single time. They gave me the energy just to see it through to the end. And then it was only when everyone left did like that deflation happen, going, oh my word, I'm exhausted. Oh my word, I haven't eaten for hours. That sort of thing. So
yeah. If you were demoing something like, I don't know, say Uncharted 4, something like that, one certain piece, a 15-minute or a 10-minute slice of that game to some people, as amazing as it probably is, or you believe it to be, there's only so many of them 10 minutes you can run through before you just kind of like, I've seen this enough now. Yeah. But I love that. I love the fact that, as you say, and I hadn't thought of that it's different because you've got the different people, different play styles, and just those four random elements coming together to give completely different experiences every time. So you're just watching, you're enjoying watching it every time as well. I love it. That's so great, because I think, as I say, if you were doing some linear thing, it was just 10 minutes, your head might just start to droop a little bit, and you're trying to force that enthusiasm along, but it sounds like you wouldn't have had any problems with that, because you would be as excited as every group.
Yeah, and I think that's Sea of Thieves gave us that energy, because I've been out for things like that for Pinata and Ghoulies and all sorts of things, but all of them have had their own different style. Like Pinata, when we took out to demo it, it's a different beast, because you basically just have to let people go on it for about an hour and sink into the garden and just take your time and relax. Whereas this is all high energy, and it's nice to have been involved in just so many different ways of demoing stuff over the time. But yeah, just the adrenaline this gives you was superb. Cool.
Did you get to go to any parties after you finished work, or was it? It sounds like if he was working till midnight, it was hit the hay and then back up the north.
It was. I think we thankfully there was just there were no massive parties. We did have a get together in the bar one night, so it was toast everyone. So there was a big rare do, congratulations, thank you for all your work. But yeah, I think I sacked that off at 10:30, going, I just need to sleep.
Yeah.
I just
barely got over
I just want to sleep.
That's so cool. Did your Switch fare well on the plane journey, or did you kind of get stuck into the movies behind the seat?
So I actually did. I tweeted out that I was so happy that the USB connector on the back of my seat was enough to power my Switch.
Oh, damn!
Which is beautiful. But I didn't give it that much of a chance, because I played a bit of Tumbleseed, and I actually tried to get back into Zelda, because I completed Zelda, then I gave it a bit of a break, then I came back, got about 20 more shrines, gave it a break, but I think I've left it too long. I was probably wandering around the southern quarters for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and I think I've just lost that drive to try and find everything. And I don't think there's any way back for me right now. I don't think the combat is involving enough for me to want to go off and just do random encounters, like the boss battles, like you were talking about the hillocks last week. That's good. I like going to find the larger bosses, because it gives you a real test. But just meandering around trying to tick off those shrines, it's got to that point where I was with Hitman. I really want to get all the achievements in Hitman, but it's becoming just a tick list of things to do rather than something I want to do. And so I think I'm just going to step back, leave Zelda, and just appreciate it for the amazing game it is, and not try to spoil the memory.
No, I think that's absolutely perfect. It's really interesting, because I've gone back in. I started playing it last week. I've gone back into the DLC, and that's given me something to kind of annoy me at the moment, because the trial of the sword is if you mess up, and you'll go right back to the start. If you die, it's like Eventide Island, as I was talking about last week.
Yeah.
But that's given me that I need to go back in. Where it was quite interesting, because watching Nicola, she's 219 shrines now. And
I think she's going to say hours or something like that.
No, she's 219 shrines, and probably 200. And she's 800.
There's only 120.
Oh, so there's 220, isn't there?
I thought there was 120.
She's got one shrine left to go, so she must be 119.
Okay.
So she's got one shrine left to go, and I think she's got about 40 Koroko seeds to go, Korok seeds to go as well. So it's just insane. But she actually
forget the shrines. That Korok seed is nuts. I mean, I have to tip every Forlocken hat I have towards her.
She is absolutely loving it. But the DLC gives her the mask, so the mask kind of gives that jiggle. So she's just kind of wandering around. But looking at her master map, or whatever that map is in the DLC compared to mine, it's just, she's so much more dense, where she's been everywhere in this map, and it's just really interesting to see. But she finished it at the weekend, and it was really interesting to just see kind of that it was almost like an anticlimax for her, that instead of finishing it and being very triumphant, because she still had a few Korok seeds to go, and she was in the castle looking for those, and so she just accidentally went into the place where the mighty Ganon is, and then just accidentally tripped over and just managed to kind of do the end battle. And she was like, "Oh, I really didn't want to do that." It was almost like an anticlimax for her. And I think she was a little bit surprised that the end game you just continue, and you can go back if you want as well. But it was really interesting just to kind of see her just kind of, like I say, trip over the ending and go, "I don't want to be here. I just want to come back out." out, go, nope, that didn't happen. But it was very cool.
I think it's always going to be an anticlimax to some extent, though, because I think even when I can't remember how many. I think I only had about 80 shrines, maybe 70, 80 shrines when I did it, and I pretty much put most of those into hearts, so I felt quite confident about that. I'd done all the beasts, I'd gone in there, and I think the battle lasted for me for quite a while because I was failing to get one of the little knacks, and eventually when I got it, it was okay. But I don't know how they can live up to that, because at least if it's like a straightforward narrative, like the usual quest progression that you get through a lot of the older Zeldas, there's at least a pacing that is broadly predictable. Whereas this, they just unleash you into the world, and so I can imagine if you just hammered through it, even like the 40 hours, you could probably go, that's a good ending compared to how much time I put into it. But it's never gonna reach this like cinematic, climactic, apocalyptic sort of style finish that I think anyone can put after getting almost 120 shrines.
Indeed, I have no idea what that last one is that she's looking for at the moment. And there is going to be a process of elimination, and maybe some consultation of Zelda.net maps as well to try and find that last one.
I think post-it notes should be used.
Yes,
just one on the to-do list. One shrine.
One shrine.
Is this in progress, Nicola?
It's right next to me where I am right now. I'm just going to add that as in progress tomorrow.
I think you're right, though. What you call it there, it's one of them games where it's not so much about the ending, but the journey, isn't it?
Yes,
it's definitely one of those.
Absolutely.
And after so many hours of enjoyment and thrills, I think you're right. It'd be impossible to have an ending that could match that, or even as an ending should do, surpass it. But I don't know. I haven't seen it. I'll look forward to telling you what I think one day.
Indeed, but there are some endings. Where you, and I think it's just because you tripped over it. Because when I finished it, I was like, "Oh my god, that was amazing!" And it was that kind of high pressure moment where you didn't want to mess up. You wanted to do it the first time. But sometimes, if you just kind of like trip over it, and maybe it's a little bit easy because you are maybe a little bit overpowered. It was interesting just to kind of see. Oh, I didn't want to do that, and But for me, I found that it kind of built as you were going around the castle. It was building and building. But you're right. You're never going to. All of those hours don't equate to that uber ending. That's not an equation. So Darren, how's your week been? What have you been up to?
I've been up to a few things. What have I done? This is a good story. So we've been in Birmingham a little bit over the last few weeks for one reason and another, because we've got some relatives there. And Sam was. We took the Switch, and we met up with my nephews, Sam's cousins, Lucas and Alex. Hi guys, if you're listening. And they are 13 and 15. Alex is 13 and Lucas is 15. And they've known Sam all his life, and I've known him obviously since they were born and played games with them all their lives. And they've known Sam growing up. And we don't see him that often because we're quite far away. And as Sam's grown up, every time they've come round, we've played Mario Kart pretty much all the time, okay? And they've always beaten Sam because they don't really give mercy because they're kids, Maybe they didn't give him any mercy because I was giving Sam mercy, but they were too busy trying to beat me in 4-player. It was a weird kind of game dynamic going on. And anyway, so we took the Switch round. And they hadn't seen one live before. So we had it on the TV and they were like, "Oh, demon, we could play Mario Kart." So, because my Joy-Con was away being fixed at the time, I bowed out. I said, "I can't play. It'll have to be you three." They were like, "Oh," and like Lucas especially always wants to beat me. And he was kind of like, "Oh, that's a shame." I was like, "Oh, I'll maybe play later." But you guys play. So they proceeded to have 3-player Mario Kart and were very surprised as my 6-year-old Sam proceeded to beat them. It was awesome, man, and they were proper surprised. And then they went from first, I think it was shock and surprise, then right, I'm really trying, to kind of to just sorrow. It was brilliant. It was so funny. And Lucas was just shaking his head, and so was Alex, just saying, "I can't believe he's beating me." And Sam was just going, playing it and just beating him. And I was like, "Oh man, that's so good." So proud. Well done, son. That is really good. So that was just fantastic. I really loved it. That was on 100 and maybe even 150, but he's no good at 200 yet. He hasn't learned the ways of the drift brake.
Oh, 200 is evil though. That'll take a while to come.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just leaving him to play, but I was just so impressed, and their shock, it was beautiful to see, because it was proper confusion, and then a bit of resignation, and it's like, you can't beat me, he's 6, and then it was like, right, another go, and he'd beat him, and it's like, right, another go. He just kept beating him.
It's like, play me again.
It was better than playing myself. Yeah, I was happy. I was so happy just watching their expressions, watching them get on the edge of the seat with determination, grim determination on their faces as Sam just sailed over the finish. And I just sat there calm, but inside I saw myself jumping around, whooping, and that was awesome. And then I also spent some time configuring HDMI CEC on my TV and array of consoles and electronics. That was fun, because I noticed I shouldn't have tested it, but I sort of was getting annoyed that I wasn't hearing speech was getting drowned in sound and music when I was watching things or playing games. If a character was speaking, it was getting drowned in the background noise and stuff like that. So I thought, right, I'm going to do a test here. I'm not convinced I'm getting discrete sound. And I'd been putting it off for ages, so I did a test, and yes, I wasn't getting discrete sound. I was getting ProLogic simulated sound. I wasn't getting proper 5.1. And so the saga started. I had to rip everything apart, reconfigure everything, sort out all my wiring, and then finally, I the only way I could do it without upgrading my amp was to have sort of all the consoles that didn't use 4K through the amp itself, because my amp's old enough not to do 4K properly, and all the consoles that do 4K through the TV. And then what I needed to do was have one cable going through the amp to take the sound through to the amp, to give me 5.1 sound. And basically, I tell you, man, it was a bit of a nightmare. But what I discovered out of it was that configuring HDMI CEC was a bit of a lifesaver. What it's done, it's allowed me to. What it does is it allows you, if you've got an HDMI CEC port, if you're not aware of it, I'm sure most people are, but it allows you to, if you've got the port on your amp and you've got a compatible port on your TV, it allows that HDMI port to not only output from your amp, from your AV, but also to input as well from the TV. So what it can do is you can have anything coming through your amp can go to your TV as a switch, like normally. So through anything plugged into, you've got your Xbox into your amp, and then that'll go out to your TV through that port, through that cable. But what it'll also allow is, if you're playing, it'll let the TV sound go through that cable and come out of your amp as well, or anything that's plugged into your TV go through the amp. So it's like a two-way thing.
Oh, right, okay.
I hope that makes sense. So anything through the amp can come out to the TV. The video can come out to the TV, but also it allows it to pass back from the TV to the amp, anything that's plugged into the TV. Because I've got 4K devices, like my Xbox, admittedly it's not 4K, but it's HDR, and the PS4 Pro and the PC, they all go directly into the TV. So I need all the sound from them to go from the TV through to the amp, if that makes sense. But I also need things that aren't 4K, like the switch, for the video to come through the amp. So you get the picture. It's a massive nightmare of complications, basically. But the end game that I wanted was everything that was 4K to come through 4K, and I wanted proper sound from everything. And as part of that, I realised that I could use this thing called HDMI CEC, which allowed me to do that because of letting this one HDMI cable not only pass things from the amp to the TV, but also passing sound back to the amp from the TV, which is pretty awesome. But also that allowed me to do some things that I didn't know I could do. For instance, now, if I turn on one of my consoles, unfortunately the Xbox doesn't support it, but maybe the next Xbox will, or a firmware update might do it. But if I turn on the Switch, because you'll notice in settings it's got an HDMI CEC option, so I activated that, and now when I turn on the Switch, from just walking the room, turn on the Switch, it turns on the TV and it turns on the amp, it finds the correct input, and it all does it all at the same time, which I think is great. And if I turn on the PlayStation 4, it turns on the TV and it turns on the amp and it finds the correct input. It's really cool. Nice. So I'm really happy with it. And then if I turn off the TV, it turns off the amp. So just one button, and I can control the amp with the TV remote. And even more weird than that is that if I've got the PlayStation 4 on for some reason, I can actually scroll the menus on the PlayStation 4 with the TV remote control. which is completely bizarre.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
I know. I think my excitement is higher than yours for that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I use, because I've got a Logitech Harmony Elite, so I kind of, all of that kind of happens automatically for me. I have like one button, and it's almost like programmable macros. So I can, like, whenever I've got one that's got a popcorn icon, it's like watch a movie, the TV comes on, the correct channel is set, the amp is set, the lights come on around the TV, the ones behind dim, it's that sort of stuff. So I hadn't played around with like CEC, and that's like consumer electronic control or something like that, isn't it? CEC,
something like that. It's called different things on different devices as well.
It's like ARC. Is it like HDMI ARC, or is that different?
Yeah, it's known as ARC, which stands for Audio Return Channel. Yep. Which means it can return the audio back. It's also called, on my Samsung TV, it's called AnyNet Plus.
Oh, right.
So, and on Sony, I think it's called something else. And so it's got I don't know why there's not a standard for it, but there's a whole plethora of names out there for it. I think the catch-all is HDMI CEC. But so what I've done, it just hasn't got the functionality that your Harmony's got, but with a bit of work and quite a lot of frustration, eventually I've got something that's not as good as that, but pretty good. It's pretty good.
Really cool.
That's really cool, considering it's built into the systems. And my amp's like about 6 years old, so I'm really chuffed. But the other thing that happened to me at the weekend was that my resolve weakened towards PlayStation Now over the weekend, and that was because of the pull of revisiting Ni no Kuni.
Oh, which that's what I want to do, yes.
You've mentioned it.
So this is the streaming service, isn't it?
Yes, it's the streaming service from PlayStation that's £12.99 a month, but they do give a 7-day free trial, which I was thinking of getting it for like 1 month to play Ni no Kuni, because I watched the trailer for Ni no Kuni 2, and Sam was there. He said, "What's this?" I said, "It's Ni no Kuni 2." And he said, "What about Ni no Kuni 1?" And I said, "Well, I got that, but you were too young to enjoy it." I said, "I tried, but you weren't interested, and it was really good, but you were just too young." He said, "Well, put it on." I said, "I can't, I ain't got the PS3 anymore."
Put it on, old man, put it on.
It's like, "What are you doing? Let's play it." And I was like, "I wish I could." And he went, "Dad, of course you can." And I was like, "Oh, my heart melted." I was like, "Let's play Ni no Kuni." I was like, and I remembered you talking about Antony. I was like, "Demon." I said, "The only way we can do it is probably play it on PlayStation Now. So let's have a look." And guess what, Antony? It's not available.
No. Is it just a region lock thing? Is it just in America or just in Japan or something?
They got it in America and Asia, but not for us. Oh. And I can't believe it. I'm gutted.
Is this like the Netflix problem where certain regions have to negotiate different... I didn't think it would be like that, but do each territory have to negotiate their own deals?
I don't know, but I mean they've had it in the US for ages. I think months, and so it must be something to do with licensing. But what's so difficult about the UK?
Yes,
I don't know what it is. Had a little look, couldn't find an explanation anywhere, and I thought just before podding, I thought I'd just definitely check this out. Right, okay, so I went onto the PlayStation Now games list, which wasn't that easy to find, but the first time I went on it, it sort of defaulted not to the UK site, it went to the EN-CA, so I don't know if that's Canada, but basically I was really amazed and disappointed to see that the selection of games that they've got in the US or in the Canada territory in this example, it just far outnumbers ours. So on the British games list for PlayStation Now, if I go to the letter N and I'm under all the games everything you can play with PlayStation Now, right? And I go to the letter N for Ni no Kuni. I don't get Ni no Kuni, I get Nidhogg, okay?
I mean, it's not bad. Nidhogg's not bad. Let's not slur Nidhogg.
No, I like that. It's a good game. I'd be happy with Nidhogg. But then when I compare it to what they get on the Canadian site, which in addition to Nidhogg is Namco Museum, Narco Terror, NBA 2K14, Ni no Kuni, Nidhogg, Nights into Dreams, Ninja Gaiden 3, Ninja Gaiden Sigma, Ninja Gaiden 2, Natural Blasters, Nobunaga's Ambition, and Numblast, I feel a little bit shortchanged. And
I mean, when you put it like that, I mean, I imagined it just like, oh, it's just Ni no Kuni. No, there is basically just about 4 games you can rent at this point.
I mean, maybe I'm in the wrong list, right? But if I go to L on the PlayStation Store for UK, right? If I go to L for this...
Anthony, I think we're in for a 26-episode deal.
Yeah. What happens when you go to Q? What happens when you go to Q?
No. We'll leave it at L. But this is under the everything you can play with PS Now, right? And it's not just games like that are new. Under L, for us in Old Blighty, we get Legend of K Anniversary. Now, if I go to L in the Canadian one, oh dear me, you get. Oh crikey! I've lost the link. Oh no! You got about
so long.
About 20 games.
Wow!
About 20 games.
Wow!
So I'm not going to be joining PS Now. First of all, because there's no Ni no Kuni. I mean, if there was, I'd probably join it anyway.
You had
but
me
I'd still be
excited then.
disappointed.
I was thinking maybe I'll jump in as well over the weekend. Just.
Well, that was the thing, because you talked about it, and I thought, yes, I'll do it, and as part of that, I'll be able to see what the streaming service is like, and there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, first of all, we don't get Ni no Kuni, but secondly, there's a massive disparity in the games for our territory compared to Canada in this case. I'm going to find L. Hold on, here's all the games. Where's L? So L for Canada. Now let me just remind you.
No, it's C Britain, for Canada. C, Darren. C.
Oh well, the games are for L for Canada. L for Canada. L for everything.
L for Canada. That's are you in Mexican?
So for L anyway, you get Legend of K Anniversary for Britain, and in L Canada you get Le Tour de France,
Guacamole.
Lead and Gold,
Viva Pinata,
Let Uncharted. You get Legacy, Legend of K, Lego Batman 2, Lego Batman, Lego Harry Potter Years 1 to 4, Lego Harry Potter Years 5 to 7, Lego Indiana Jones, Lego Indiana Jones The Adventure Continues, Lego Pirates of the Caribbean, Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga, Lego Star Wars 3, Lemmings, Lingering Shadows, Loco Roco, Coricho, Lone Survivor The Director's Cut, Lost Planet 2, Lost Planet 3, Lost Planet Extreme Edition, and Lumine Supernova. And what was that we got again? Oh yeah, Legend of K Anniversary. So yeah, I'm shocked.
Wow.
Got to mention it.
Wow.
Yeah. So not only do we not get Ni no Kuni, but we also don't get anywhere near the games that other territories get, and I'm not sure why. I might write him an email, just see what they say. Just follow it up. Just send Sony a quick email and say, is it really true that we get like 2% of the games of other territories get? And if it is true, why is that?
Wow. That's absolutely shocking. I mean, I know, as James was saying, Netflix kind of was a big had a big problem like that, where you would look at the US list, especially kind of not so much the new shows; they're all kind of jumping at the same time now. But it's kind of like the Netflix would have the complete season of Friends, the complete run of Friends, and you go, I could do with watching some of that. You go onto the UK one, not there at all, so that's just like, but I didn't think that happened over the PlayStation. I understand that there's a whole reason and a whole rigmarole why we get it on a Friday and America gets it on a Tuesday, but I thought that we, especially with PS Now, I thought that was just that was on an equal stead. It must be down to rights. It has to be kind of local, either localization or rights for the EU region.
It must be. I mean, they wouldn't just do it. They wouldn't just do it some arbitrary waff, would they? So yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? I didn't realise that we were so short-changed on it because I'd never really looked.
Does it get better when we Brexit? Do we get a better PS Now?
Is that? Let's no. I'm going to draw the line. I'm going to draw the line here.
I agree. We're not about this. We're not about that.
Right.
So yeah, that was me. That was my week.
So Anthony, how's your week been?
Yes, not too bad. I'll make mine nice and short. Mine was really cool. I went to see Spider-Man. I went to see Spider-Man Homecoming. So that's the latest kind of in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Came out on Friday. Nicola and I went for our customary IMAX, followed by Five Guys burgers, and not just Five Guys. So we went to see Spider-Man Homecoming, which is absolutely fantastic. This is it didn't worry about the origin story, so it didn't worry about that. It just went straight into a Spider-Man movie, which I really enjoyed, because we've already had that a couple of times. We've had the Tobey Maguire, we've had the Andrew Garfield, but now we have Tom Holland playing Peter Parker / Spider-Man, and it was absolutely fantastic. it's so deep and rich into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because I was worried, because I don't think Sony have. They've said you can have this one, but I'm not sure. And he will be appearing in other movies, but Sony still hold the rights. So it's not. So Marvel don't hold the rights to Spider-Man, because Stan Lee sold off the rights to a lot of characters, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, X-Men, kind of way back when, I think, when Marvel were having some money problems. But Sony have allowed it come up right at the start, very big kind of Sony Pictures, we still own Spider-Man. It might as well have said that on the screen. But it was absolutely fantastic. You have Happy Hogan, who's Jon Favreau. You've got Tony Stark in there. Pepper Potts is in there. It really is rich in the Marvel Universe, and is a fantastic, very real story as well. You have four friends who are just absolutely fantastic. I could watch this cast just for ages. There was a guy who I'd never seen before, which was a guy called Jacob Batlin, who played Ned, and he's kind of Peter Parker's friend, and he was just hilarious. I found myself laughing out loud in the cinema, clapping a lot of the time. I was very annoying, but the good thing is like Nicola and I kind of bit of a secret, probably shouldn't say it, but we go to the IMAX, our local IMAX, and we always do the first showing on a Saturday morning, and it's empty. There was probably about, I would say there's probably about 10 other people in this really large auditorium, and it was fantastic. It's just there was no annoyance, no kind of kids running up and down or making noises. It was perfect. It was so nice. So I was happy to be annoying, but I was just absolutely enjoying this film from start to finish.
Cool. Do you need to have watched because Spider-Man was in Avengers 2, wasn't he? No, Civil War.
He was in Captain America: Civil War. Yes.
Yeah. So I guess that was a brief, fleeting one as well. It just almost introduced the characters. Does that tie into it at all? Is it mentioned? Is it?
It is indeed. Yes, you actually see the entire. You see right at the start, just as a kind of all quick backlog, quick catch you up. You see that kind of his part in Civil War. You see it from his perspective, and actually from his phone. So he's like kind of almost filming it. He's filming it for himself, and it's hilarious. Right at the start, it was just, and it ties in so well. He's like, look, there's Ant-Man. Oh my god! He's really nerding out over these superheroes, which really made me laugh a lot. And it's such a great movie. You got Michael Keaton, he plays the Vulture, so it's good to see kind of Michael Keaton back on the big screen, and he plays the baddie, and he's just absolutely fantastic. But there was a couple of moments throughout the film, and obviously I won't spoil, but there's a couple of moments throughout the film where you were just intake of breath, because there were just some real spectacular points and some real kind of plot turns, and it was fantastic. And Aunt May is played by Marissa Tomei as well, and she's fantastic. It's really cool because Aunt May, Marissa Tomei is she's quite hot, so there's a lot of men hitting on her throughout the movie. They make this kind of this play, or they make kind of this constant reference to it wherever she goes. She's getting free food, or she's getting really good service, and it's really funny. It's just such a great movie. So I absolutely loved it. And there was also a cameo from Donald Glover as well. So Donald Glover, who is going to be Lando Calrissian in the new Star Wars movie. So he was in it as well, which I quite liked, and he's quite a cool character. So I think he's got his own TV series called Atlanta, which is showing at the moment on Sky Atlantic. But he's just really cool. He's very cool. So it's good to see Lando Calrissian as well in this Marvel movie.
I was going to say they merged the universes again.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Star Wars is merged in the cinematic universe. He walks on as Lando, says, "All right, yes. I see you soon in the film," and then off he goes.
Yeah, he says, "What do we have here?" And then he just leaves. I mean, you could do, because they're both owned by Disney, so they could. Yeah. So yeah, it was absolutely.
They're just going to merge everything. One big mishmash. Where would you say? There's been a lot of Spider-Man movies. Would you say this is one of the higher ranking ones?
See, I'm a little bit controversial, because I prefer the Andrew Garfield movies to the Tobey Maguire movies. So Sam Raimi did a fantastic job. Spider-Man 1 was really good, but I think 2 and 3 kind of lost their way a bit. But I really enjoyed the Andrew Garfield movies. But I put Spider-Man Homecoming as the best Spider-Man that we've had.
Wow, the definitive Spider-Man movie.
Absolutely, and Tom Holland is just amazing. This guy, he is just absolutely incredible as Peter Parker. For someone who reads the comic books as I do, I thought Andrew Garfield did a really good job of that kind of quirky, kind of uncomfortable teenager, but Tom Holland just really plays it. I know he's 21 playing a 15-year-old, but he just really nails it. He's just absolutely superb. And and like I say, he plays really well off of Robert Downey Jr., for Tony Stark and Happy Hogan, Jon Favreau. They just kind of play off each other just really well. And it looks, and I know we always say this when we talk about games or anything, but it absolutely looks spectacular. It's fantastic. There wasn't a bit. I mean, when Nicola and I were chatting about it afterwards, we were saying that the CGI was just so good that you just never noticed it. And that's one of the things I'm noticing more and more when I go to the movies now, is that you never think, oh, that's CGI, or it never pulls you out because it is just so natural now, and this weekend we're off to see Cars 3 and also Planet of the Apes. So we're doing a double on the same day, and Planet of the Apes is just that I forget, that they're CGI. But Spider-Man had some amazing set pieces and some amazing kind of some amazing scenes that you were just like, this is incredible. I just absolutely love it. And in true Marvel universe, they also had some after credit scenes as well. So there's 2 for this movie. So if you haven't seen it, and you're going to the cinema. I always feel bad for those people that get up and just start leaving the cinema. They're just like, haven't you been to one of these yet? There's really good stuff that happens after the credits. And
but I am starting to find that really tiresome.
Really?
Like, I am. It's just like, I will probably now, I think we stopped for the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff, but I'm more and more tempted just to watch them on YouTube after a while, because I don't mind stopping to appreciate the names of the people who have worked hard on them, but it's the fact they're just so cynical and put more and more in. Is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 4? Is it right at the end? Maybe I'm not. It's just another gimmick that I think they're just overworking.
Yes, I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy had 5 actually. I think there was 5 for Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a little bit much. But the last one of this one, which was right at the end after the credits, was spot on. Was absolutely. So if you can find that on YouTube, James, I'd find it, because you might have a bit of a chuckle about it.
James, do you watch the end credits of games? I don't think we've asked you that. I mean, me and Antony both sit through it. Regardless of Easter eggs, we just watch it for. Well, I'm not trying to speak for you, Antony, but for me personally, I always, if it's a game that's touched me, it's like, oh yeah, that was good, and I sit through the credits. It's like a rite of passage.
I don't do it as something I do just because I feel I should. I tend to either, if I like how they present it. It sounds like a really cynical way of saying things, but
the credits are fun, you'll watch them.
Yeah, the credits are fun, and this could be just like put some concept art in the background or put some interesting music, and I think that's when I've watched most of the credits from films that I've seen before as well. When in a lot of the Pixar stuff, you find that they have that concept art style, or this really 70s cartoon cutout style that just happens to be in and around the credits. And I'm as much stopping to appreciate the style and the substance that someone's put into the end credits rather than just to read off a list of names, because there also gets to the point where there are so many names. And as a man who's appeared in credits as well, I will not begrudge anyone for skipping the cancel button and just like jumping back to the main menu, because I don't expect you to wait through 7 minutes of just scrolling text to look out my name as someone you don't know. It's... Like
I always like to pay tribute to them all. Not that I read every name. I did use the usefulness of it was when Claire was pregnant with Sam. We didn't know what name to pick. We used the end game credits and all film credits. We were just looking for names. We were just looking for names. Like, will that one do? Will that one do? Will that one do? Obviously, none of Sam. We didn't use Xavier or anything, but it was a useful thing. Instead of buying a baby book, we were just reading the credits all the time.
Cheaper, more fun. Yes, yeah,
absolutely. I don't know about more fun, but definitely saved.
I guess you get through a
$1.99.
You get through a movie at least on it. So.
Yeah. Cool.
But yes, Spider-Man, well worth going to see, especially at the cinema if you are available. It's very good.
Does it tie into the new game?
It doesn't, no, because I think Spider-Man, in the new game, in the Insomniac game, Spider-Man has been Spider-Man for about 4 years, so he's a seasoned Spider-Man at that point. So no, I don't think it ties into the universe at all, which is a good thing, really, because it allows them to kind of do whatever they want with that story.
Yeah, they've got the freedom. So it's not that there's certain subtleties with the outfit or anything that match that are different, but match up on these two, the movie and the game, or anything like that.
No, the one in the game looks very different to the one that was in the movie.
Okay, cool. But as you say, that's definitely a good thing because they can just go off. They can both go off on their own tangents and feel freely creative.
Oh, absolutely. In any month from Marvel Comics, there are 4 Spider-Man comic books, and and some of them are continuity, some roll, but they're always ones that maybe are just kind of outside or just a one-hit story where it's completely different. So that happens all the time in the comic book world.
Cool. I didn't know that.
Yes. That's very cool. It's very cool indeed. So, shall we jump into what we've been playing this week? So, James, what have you been playing?
Well, I've been trying to find something to settle into, so I've gone through a few things. When I got back from LA, I picked up ARMS, because quite a few of the podcasts on the way back were just... I think it was about the time the review embargo was lifting, and so there was some reasonably positive stuff about ARMS. And I think I tried to take that glass half full approach with it, so jumped in, and I'm a bit disappointed. I should have heeded what everyone said, because ARMS is fun, but it is very shallow in content. I pretty much walked through the campaign 4 times in a row just to try and get a feel for it, and it actually does feel really good. I was a bit sceptical about the motion controls. For anyone who doesn't know, you can play ARMS with the Switch, just holding it like it is like a giant controller, or you can take off the 2 Joy-Cons and use them as they were your fists, so flicking them forward, and then you can twist it to get your arms that are on long bendy springs to just curve round, so you can try and punch things about 30 foot away from you, and you can cross them to try and do a defensive stance, and that's quite fun. There's a real nice tactility about getting into it, and it doesn't feel like as gimmicky as the Wiimotes, because I think that unlike the Wii boxing, there feels like there's genuine I guess a skill, a talent to trying to block and counter and all sorts. So the actual pure mechanics, they feel really good. It's just that they don't seem to do much with them. You have about 10 different fighters, and each of them has 3 different style of fists they can have on their arms. So a couple of the ones I was playing as, like, you can have just like a giant wrecking ball, or you can have ones that you can charge up by blocking that have electricity on them, or they could just have like 3 smaller missiles that launch out of each of them and hone in on the target. So they all should feel different in some ways, but they don't seem to matter that much, or at least the level I've played it to, they just all feel the same. They feel like if you connect, you take a certain amount of damage off, and some might be faster, some might be slower, but not enough to really make a difference. And so after about a weekend's worth of playing, I just sort of put it down. I'm actually a bit disappointed, because I want to like it, but it just doesn't seem to offer any longevity.
I played the most of the global test punches.
Yeah.
And yeah, I sort of agree with you. I really enjoyed it, and it was good in those hour snippets, especially the first hour, when the first global test punch. It was awesome. I was really enjoying it. But really, I think I did 3, and maybe by the third hour, like the third week, whenever it was, I played it and I was kind of bored of it, and I was like, And I thought, yeah, this is great, and I agree with you. I loved the control. I thought the tactility of it felt really good, and it really does have that sort of meaningful ability to dodge, counter, and there's a proper penalty for throwing a punch too early, because you could get punched back and things like that. And then you're charging up your superpower, aren't you, as well, as you bob and weave, and then getting that at the critical time. And we had some really close matches on it, which was awesome, against the general public out there, which were really good fun. But then for me, it came down to it. I was kind of like, yeah, this is great, but I feel that even just from the demos, I was like, well, there'd be more characters I could play and stuff like that. So I was thinking, there's probably more there. I do like it, but for $49.99, I was just kind of like, nah, it's just a bit too rich for me. Yeah, and I think I just got bitten by the wanting something new. Just coming back going, I want to take a chance, I want to try and support this, but it definitely feels like it should either get supported, or I think it is overpriced.
Yeah, I get the feeling, though, from what other people have said, that actually if you get people in a room, get a couple of people playing against each other, then that might be where the fun comes. You know, in the same way...
That's great.
Yeah, in the same way that, you know, Mario Kart together is really good. And Mario Party is like, when you play it as multiplayer, it elevates what the game is. So I'm hoping maybe that when we have a few people around, if someone brings some Joy-Cons, then that actually might spark it, and that might give it a reason for being. But yeah, I moved on quite quick. I moved on to Horizon Zero Dawn, actually, because PlayStation had a sale not long afterwards, so I snapped up that. And I'm really enjoying it. I've drifted off just because I haven't had a lot of time this last week to dedicate a few hours in a single burst at it. But even like the opening like 5-10 hours, I'm really enjoying what I've done, to the point where like if I stop now, I'd be happy. I'm glad I gave it space from Zelda as well, because I can imagine if I came straight off Zelda and straight into Horizon Zero Dawn, I'd have more issues. Like I do miss the ability to climb up any rock face. Zelda has ruined open world games for us in that.
Yes.
But the actual combat, the scavenging, the ability to override the dinosaurs, just the dinosaurs themselves, and it just feels like a really nice game. It doesn't feel like you could take on the world. It feels like you need to just study your area and try and consider before moving on, which is nice. I haven't got to the full-blown huge dinosaurs where you need lots of traps, but even just trying to set a few tripwires or electricity wires just to take down a bit of health or confuse them, it just seeds possibilities of what could come.
Yeah, it's really good. I love that the way you phrase that with the considerative play, because it really does have that. Have you met the sort of training guy? Gives you different hunting missions to do, and that teaches you different facets of how to use the traps or the bow or the different weapons.
I've gone to him. I haven't actually done anything yet, because I thought that's a bit quick to take down so many. So I'm having a ponder around the rest of the world and then returning to him.
Did you enjoy the beginning montage-esque way that you played through her growing up?
Yes. Yeah, I don't want to put spoilers in, but there was a certain point where I thought, this is a lot of interesting characters. I hope they stay around for a while.
Yeah. I loved it when when she sort of, there was just one little bit, and I just loved it that much. And it was like, you didn't play this bit, but it sort of went into this sort of montage, and she was trying to make this jump, and then the final jump, she just jumped as like, I don't know, she was getting older through the montage, and then she jumped as like, I don't know, say a 13-year-old, and then hit the deck and rolled, and then she was grown up. And I was just like, oh wow, I loved that.
Yeah, that was good.
I loved it so much. And it just, even thinking about it now, I'm really smiling, because it was just so good. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I think, Antony, it was exactly what James is saying there, isn't it? And you said yourself, it's not the game to play straight after Zelda, is it? I was lucky I played it first.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's one of those games, because as I was saying last week, I'm kind of struggling to find a game to get into, and just really kind of, while I'm waiting for things like Destiny and waiting for those kind of those experiences that are coming later this year, I'm trying to find a game, and it's one of those ones I keep going back to. But I think because I played it before Zelda, so I started playing it, then Zelda came out, and I jumped straight into Zelda because I was excited about that. That ruined that experience for me. So whenever I've tried to go back into Horizon, I'm always finding myself that I have to be incredibly stealthy, because if I don't, then I'm just going to die. You know, I'm going to alert them, and then that's it, I'm done. So I kind of think that I might, if I want to play it, and I really do, because I want to kind of have I want to join the conversation maybe at the end of the year when we talk about kind of our games a year and stuff. It's one of those games I feel that I really should play, because it seems like it's quite an important game this year.
Yeah, it's difficult because Zelda is so freeform. But the best way of approaching it, and again, this is weird advice, because I played it in reverse, so it didn't really apply to me. Though, if I went back to it, maybe it would. Because like even Rhyme, I couldn't climb a cliff edge, and I found it very narrow and sort of obstructive. I was just getting angry straight away, and that was like post Zelda. But the only thing I'd say is that, you know, like any game, you've got to embrace it as some of its own mechanics, and you've got to kind of have it. It's its own thing. It's not Zelda. It's giving you a certain rule set and certain constraints, and that are there to to give you the tools to enjoy the world, and they're the tools that the developers have given you. And it's like, right, I'm going to play this game. These are the constraints, and that's what I've got to deal with in this world. In this world, I can't do that. This is Aloy's world now. It's not Link's world. And maybe that kind of slant would help, but it's difficult. It's difficult in a post-Zelda world.
And it's natural to compare as well. So it's
it's a shame they came out so close together.
Yeah. But enjoying that. Also tried to get some games going with Ali as well, so I cast my mind back through the catalogue, and I could have actually got this from the I think I might have got this from the Xbox game rental place. Horrible branding, I can't remember the name of the one.
But Games Pass.
That's the one. I think I got it from there. Brothers Tale of Two Sons. And we didn't play this when it first came out, because I think it's about 3 or 4 years old. But I can remember it going, we need a co-op game. We need a co-op game. What can we... Oh, Brothers! That's a game where you've got two characters playing together. I completely forgot that it was two characters playing together on the same controller. So, what I imagine was like everyone having their own controller and away we go. Then with me and Ali basically crouched on the snuggled up on the sofa, trying to have she had the left side of the controller, I had the right side, but I didn't quite feel comfortable, so we were propping up the controller in the middle, and Ali might be operating the left stick with the right hand. It it just about worked, and we've been slowly going through that in possibly the least
harmonious.
The least harmonious line. But it's quite good.
I like the idea of that. I like the idea of sharing the pad for that game. And I want to play that game again and finish it, because I sort of played it halfway and got distracted, but I really like it.
Yeah, we've now started playing it more past the pad every now and again as well, so it's a bit more.
It's a bit like rubbing your head and patting your stomach sometimes with playing it single player, isn't it?
Oh my!
You've got to control both of the brothers with the one pad. And sometimes I can feel sort of my left and right parts of my brain sort of almost ripping asunder as I play it.
Yeah, because is it the left stick controls the older brother and the right stick controls the younger brother? But then if you have the older brother on the right-hand side of the screen being controlled by the left stick, and the younger brother being controlled by the right stick on the left, when they're on opposite sides of the screen, that's where I have real trouble. So I'm really grateful that you can't fall off ledges easily.
Yeah, it's a good game, and it's supposed to have a spectacular ending that I've not seen yet. So I'd really like to see that.
If we can muddle our way through, I'll let you know if it lives up to that calibre. But
brilliant! And just as an aside, as you talked about Brothers Tale of Two Sons, I thought I'd have a quick scan at the PlayStation Now games. And
what's under G in Canada?
Well, B for Brothers. In UK, we would be able to play Back to Bed, Battle Worlds, Chronos, Football 2, and Broken Age. But if we were in Canada, we could play Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, along with about 25 other games.
Wow!
So just thought I'd add that in. Sorry, I'm going to close those tabs now.
But I must admit, I've been very tempted with the Games Pass, because they have Flame in the Flood, and that's a game that's always kind of when I'm looking for games to play, it's always one of those ones where I think I love the art style of this game. I love the sound. I love the when you watch the trailer. I'll stick it in the show notes because the trailer is awesome. It's got a really good soundtrack to it. The art style's fantastic, and I've always been very tempted by Flame in the Flood, and that's in Games Pass as well. And I think that's like about maybe £10 or something like that. So you might as well just kind of subscribe to Games Pass that month.
Yeah, that's what I did with Brothers, to be honest. I decided to take the plunge for the year, and let's try and use it. So which is why Brothers came up. But yeah, it's good. Apart from that, I have also been playing Goner on the Switch. And it was one of these moments where I didn't have time to play Horizon, and Ali wasn't around, so I didn't have opportunity to play Brothers. So I just picked up the Switch and had a quick look what was in the store that week. And I just happened to come across this nice-looking roguelike platform shooter called Goner. And it was the style that really attracted me, because I think the actual splash screen doesn't look that distinctive. Like there's a small blobby thing running through with a gun, and a few smudgy type flying heads around, and it's like it's okay, but there's like a sugar skull within the logo, and I thought, okay, there might be some style beyond the initial splash screen. And looking through all the artwork, there's almost something spectrum-y about it. Like it's just a black background for the most part, and then these levels, when I say levels, like these platforms, these blocks that you can stand and just glow out from the world itself. And certain levels, they'll only glow when you or other enemies are around them. Other times they'll just pulse with colour, and so it's a real stark contrast between the background and what you're injecting into the world. And it then, okay, I thought I'd give this a punt, but then it turns out to be really fun. It's quite a short, sharp roguelike platform in the sense that they say you can complete the whole thing in about 15-20 minutes if you know what you're doing and can book it through. So it means there's really tight replay loops. You can just have a run for 5 minutes and try again. And that's where I sort of stand with roguelikes. It's where I never really got on with Spelunky because it seemed too epic. Whereas something like Rogue Legacy, where you could carry your progression on by unlocking new stuff, and in this game you can, it's just so short, it's great. But what then secured it for me was that your head, your body, and your gun are all different aspects. So you can upgrade your head to have different like health qualities. So you can either have like five hearts, but when you get hit by an enemy, your head rolls off and you have to go and fetch it. Or you could have just 3 hearts and then your head stays on your body, and you can get different power-ups, be it like an auto-reloading gun or something that does a massive explosion around you. So there's combinations and different styles of play that I really enjoy. But yeah, just for like a little sleeper hits, although saying that, it seems to have got good press on Steam, but just for a sheer punt, I really like what I found.
Great. Is it? How much was it?
I think it was like $8.99, I want to say. Don't hold me to that, but it was definitely that, less than a tenner, so I took a punt on it.
Wow. That's the third time I've heard about this game in the last few days.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do it. I get the feeling you would like it, because it's a roguelite, it's quick, it's colourful, so hopefully Sam will... it's just full of action as well. Because it's all about speed, because you get combos and points based on how quickly you can chain, I guess, kills of the enemies and how quickly you can book it through levels.
Well, I like the sound of that. Has it got 2-player?
I don't think so. Doesn't
matter, though.
But it's so short, you could play past the pad easy.
Oh, man. Yeah, classic. I'll have a look.
Do so. Cool, and yeah, that's about it from me, unless anyone wants to tell the listeners how you fared at Mario Kart on Sunday night.
Who's that directed at me?
Well, I'm definitely not going to tell anyone.
So, Dan, we finally managed to encourage Darren out of hiding. How many weeks have we tried to get him on, Antony? It's like every time we've had a racing session on Sunday, someone has been conspicuous by his absence.
Since his birthday.
Yeah,
it was actually Sam playing on Sunday, not me.
That's what I said. I said we're probably racing against Sam.
No, it was a bit too late. If it would have been a bit earlier, I mean, he was in bed. But I was saying to Claire, I said, this is because I couldn't chat because I didn't have a headset.
Yeah.
I said to Claire, I was like, Sam could be playing because you can take 2-player online, can't you?
Yeah,
like two locals online. And I was like, Sam could be joining in here. That'd be so interesting to see. But he wouldn't have liked the 200. And like with me, you can say, Daddy, turn it off. But I don't think you guys would be listening to his protests. Well, you wouldn't hear them for starters. It would just me getting here.
200 is something we only do infrequently at best. It's a level that Mario Kart is not meant to be played at, in my mind.
And then we just choose Baby Park as well while we're doing it.
that level, I'd never done that on 200 before. It was unbelievable.
It's either that or Rainbow Road. It's go big or go home at 200. Choose the most unsuitable level and just stick with it.
Luckily, I'd been trying to hone my game on 200 a little bit because I'd never realised until quite recently about how to play. I just went off to the side all the time, and braking didn't work. And then I realised that if you brake in a drift, you don't lose your drift. And that was the key for me. And I was like, wow, that's opened it up a little bit. So I challenged myself to start trying to get a few wins or 3 stars on 200cc. And my goodness me, it's hard. But I've been enjoying myself trying to do that. But I enjoy pretty much every mode. 50s is probably a bit too slow, but I'm just quite happy playing it. It's one of the games I've been playing this week, and yeah, I think it might have been you, James, that said that it just keeps on giving, and it really does.
Yeah.
I can't play it enough, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, and I can't put any reason on it either. And apart from the fact that the Switch is just a joy to use, it's like I never played it this much on the Wii U, and it's pretty much exactly the same game. But I'm playing it all the time. The whole family's involved. Even Claire's started playing it. I'm saying to Claire, "You never played it when we had it on the Wii U, so why are you playing it now?" She just says it's all of a sudden it's fun.
Yeah, I think there's a certain amount. It might be a fraction more accessible. I think just something as simple as you don't have to necessarily have the big gamepad out. Like if it's on the telly, you can just have a controller or a smaller controller. You don't have to lug around this giant tablet thing that was underutilized.
And it coaxed her in a little bit with the assists as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good introduction.
Yeah, because she's turned them off slowly. You know, she got frustrated about not being able to do a shortcut. So she was like, right, I'm going to turn that one off. And now she's assist-free. So that's good, because she could never play it before. So, yeah, it is a good feature. Just a shame they're on by default, but nevertheless a good feature. Yeah,
that always catches everyone out first time. I think especially when you get guests over that jump in as well.
Yeah, and every time we change up our control scheme, because sometimes we're playing in a wheel, sometimes I'm playing in dual con, sometimes playing on hooked up to the pad, and when you do a new one, that it's forgotten, the assists are back on. Right. And I start a race and I've forgotten, and it's like, what's going on? It's like, pause it. Oh, for goodness sake! Right, right, let's carry on. Right, I've just lost that race because I just crashed, sort of thing. But yeah, it was great fun in multiplayer. I was going to say, I'm about to say we'll have to do it more often, but I know you were going to say, well, we'll do it every week. You were never there, so. But yeah, it was brilliant. I had a right laugh.
It was. There was a lot of "damn you, Darren's" happening. It's sort of "damn you, Darren" and "damn you, James." I think there was kind of like.
Well, I was scared to death. I was thinking, oh mate, this is going to be awful. I'm just going to get completely whooped. But I think I did okay.
Yeah. No, you did really well.
But James is something else.
He really is.
I think maybe a moderate sized fish in a small pond when it comes to this.
Well.
I almost had it.
That's not a compliment for us.
No. The last race,
James.
The last race, I almost had James in the last race, and then Manny blue-shelled me.
What do you mean almost had him? And the last race is like, your exact phrase was, I just need 9 more points than James to take the title.
I really thought that was it. Was like, so how did James have to finish 12th, which is never going to happen?
I must say, it always seemed to choose the race that you picked as well. You'd pick a course, James, and it was like it landed on yours, and I was like, all right, okay, next one. It landed on the one you picked. I was like, James again. I think you're doing some kind of Konami code, and it always lands on the course you pick.
Yeah,
it's just not this course.
Fixing the deck.
Yeah, stacking the odds in your favour. Yeah.
I'll go with that. That makes me feel better.
That's what I reckon. But no, I don't think I played it online against random people before, but never against like sort of people I know. And it was amazing. It was really good. I need to learn some more shortcuts, I think.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's one of the things that I'm looking at now when I'm racing around, to try to figure out where the shortcuts are, and remembering to kind of go through them as well while you're racing, because you're right. It's so it's so exciting when you're racing that you do just forget to kind of go on the shortcuts.
It's easy, just follow the road, yeah.
Yeah, indeed. The first race, I forgot how to drift. I hadn't played it for ages. I was like, how do you drift again? What button is this?
That made us laugh so hard. He came out going, guys, how did you do that jumpy thing? Do you mean drifting?
You mean the key mechanic?
Yeah, go forwards, guys.
What is the
What is this thing in my hand?
I'm in a car. Oh my god.
I think some of the shortcuts are quite risky as well. Like on Ribbon Road, there's a couple. There's a bit where you go along the actual ribbony bit and it's all bouncing, and there's 2 opportunities of a shortcut, and I find that they're really difficult because if you miss them, you just fall off the edge completely, and then you get towed back in by Lakitu. But they're so tempting to try and hit, and I lose many a race because I just want to hit those shortcuts. I'm wasting like loads of my accuracy by just looking out for them first of all, then trying to line up my drift so that I can boost into this little ramp that's off the course. And it's very difficult. So they're very tempting as well. Sometimes it's safer to stay on the track.
Yeah, risk and reward. Reward.
It's just perfect, isn't it? It's such a perfect little game. My heart was racing. I was trying that hard. I repositioned myself on the seat. I was like sort of cross-legged right on the edge. I was like, right, can't lie down. I can't be reclined anymore. There's none of this going on. It was like I was like sat bolt upright. And like when the race finished, I was like, that was amazing, sort of thing. I really, really enjoyed it. It was. From a game that looks like that, you wouldn't expect to be able to just get so gripped, but I was completely it was awesome, man. It was brilliant. It was so tense. I loved it.
Next time a headset to bring it on that next level too.
Yeah, definitely. I don't. The thing with that is that I gave mine when I sold my Xbox One. I gave it all to the person that bought it as it came, which was included a headset thing. But I didn't know that the Xbox One S didn't come with one. And so I've not got one, and I've not got around to buying one. But I'll sort something out next time we do it. But even if I haven't got one, I'll still join in again, and maybe we could do a Skype thing. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Nintendo haven't sorted it out yet, so we have to do our own. So
yeah, we'll do it ourselves. Yeah. So, Antony, what have you been playing?
Well, like I said, I'm still I'm looking for something to play, and as you recommended, Deus Ex, Mankind Divided. So I got that from Boomerang last week. I think we were talking about it on the pod. Jumped into that, started playing that. Really enjoyed the opening mission in Dubai. Really liked it. There's this whole kind of big first mission that I was quite enjoying it. It was really good. It kind of finishes. It's quite it's almost kind of Call of Duty-esque, as you're playing it. But then I got into the actual game, and then I started after that kind of big opening set piece, you kind of jump into the kind of game proper, and got bored incredibly quickly with Deus Ex. So I was just was so much that it's gone back to Boomerang. I was just no, this isn't a game for me. I was trying to figure out how to get into that library and what I needed to do and how stealthily I needed to go, and if I wasn't stealth, if I was going kind of full lethal, what does that do? And that just kind of pretty much ends the game at that point. So I was finding myself kind of getting frustrated to go, okay, right, no, I'll try this. I can't jump. That jump is making me kind of sick, and I was doing all of that, and I was like, no, this isn't the game for me. And I don't know what's wrong with me at the moment, because I'm finding it incredibly hard to find that game that is actually sticking, and so I'm really enjoying, as we were saying, like Mario Kart, and I'm enjoying kind of playing a bit of Zelda, Lego Uncovered when I'm kind of out and about on the Switch, but I'm finding it really hard I'm desperate for that gameplay, that story, that narrative gameplay, but I just cannot find it at the moment.
I'm sorry, mate. I thought it might be the game to help you, so I'm sorry. It's
no, it's fine. I know, me too. I've liked other Deus Ex games, and I've really, I really enjoyed that opening cutscene. I mean, the opening mission in Dubai. And I really enjoyed it. I loved it. Kind of at the end when it was you had to kind of shut down the helicopter, and it was just fantastic. And I was like, "Yep, this game's for me." But it was when it opened up into the real game and opened up in the world that I was just finding the choices were frustrating. So I was thinking that I was really enjoying the game and the frame of it. So I was thinking, well, maybe Dishonored 2 is maybe something I should jump into, or something like that. So I sent back Deus Ex. So I sent that back kind of a good week early, but that's kind of there, back at Boomerang now, waiting for my Splatoon 2 cartridge to be kind of sent out. So I'm not going to get anything now until kind of after Splatoon, but I'll jump into Splatoon. But what I did play, so that was kind of Deus Ex, but what I have played this week, got sent a code by Square Enix for a new game that came out. I think it came out today as we pod, which is July 11th, or it's coming out tomorrow, but it will be definitely out by the time you listen to this. And this is called Black the Fall. This is a very interesting game. Now, this is pretty much Inside meets 1984. It's you play this character called Black, and it's a very dystopian Russian communist regime that you're trying to break out of. You're trying to break out of this factory, and it plays just like Inside. This is kind of almost like this year's Inside, but it's
Inside 2.
Exactly, Electric Boogaloo. But it's really good. I mean, if you look at any of the screenshots, you just think that this is Inside, because you're playing. It's 2D, but on a 3D plane, so you are going from left to right, solving puzzles. But one of the elements that you have is that you have this laser pointer where you pick up every now and then, and you can actually point it to other people within this factory, and you can make them do things. So you can go, right, I want you to go and do that switch, I want you to do this. And like I say, it just really does play just like Inside. And I'm really enjoying it. So I've had it for a couple of days. I've had a couple of playthroughs, a couple of like play sessions. I haven't finished my first playthrough yet, and it's really good. It's a real kind of puzzle platformer. Like I say, I'm expecting at some point to have the same ending as Inside did. Almost spoiled it then. But so I'm expecting it to, but it's very much, there's a big emphasis on stealth. So there's a lot of levels where you've got to maybe kind of distract a guard so they look this way, and then you kind of then stealthily kind of get through the level. So it really reminds me of Inside. It reminds me of, what was that other game? There was a really good game by Chair, the people who did or People Can Fly.
Limbo?
No, we've talked about it a couple of times.
I want to say Complex, something Shadow Complex.
Shadow Complex, thank you very much, James.
Wow.
Yes, so it's a bit like Shadow Complex with the escape plan and Inside all kind of mixed up together with like George Orwell's 1984, and I'm really enjoying it. So that's kind of, because what I'm doing, we're doing lots of DIY and lots of organisation, but I'm getting up early so I can have like a good kind of hour and a half kind of gaming session before we start, before we have our daily stand up. So before we start doing the DIY, and this is really, I'm really enjoying this. So this is kind of really kind of getting me through the week, and this is Black the Fall.
That's cool. I just watched the trailer, and yeah, I think if you watch just a bit of it motion, you can't think of anything but Inside, which might be a bit of a shame for Black the Fall. But if it gets people intrigued to move on to that, then fair play.
Yeah, I was thinking that the only problem this game might have is that Inside came out before it.
Yes,
unless by some miracle it just beats Inside, as you play through it. But yeah, it's sort of a shame really to get two such similar games in a relatively short timeline, I suppose. But you haven't finished it yet, so I'll certainly look forward to hearing your thoughts once you've done it.
Absolutely, and like I say, at the moment, I'm really enjoying it. The sound is great. I'm listening. I'm not like listening to another podcast or music. I'm listening to the sound in headphones, and absolutely loving it. It's by a Romanian developer called Sand Sailor Studios, and it just, the graphics look fantastic. I'm playing on Xbox One, and it's fantastic. It's a great game. I'm really liking it. Like I say, it really does kind of scratch that itch that we got last year for Inside. It just continues doing that.
Sounds really cool. How did you come across it?
I got a press release from Square Enix saying this game's coming out in a couple of days' time. We've got some review codes. Do you want one? And I was just like, yeah, I'll have one.
Brilliant.
Sent one to me. So like I say, Square Enix sent me a review code, and like I say, I'm really enjoying it. So I've been playing it for a couple of hours. Like I say, a couple of sessions. I kind of feel like I'm progressing the story. And similar to Inside, there's no dialogue. There's no, so you're just there, and you have to just start walking forward. You're in a group, right as it opens, you're in a lift, followed by a lot of people that are the same as you, and you just kind of start walking forward, and then your character just emerges from this group of characters, and then you have to quickly get out of that area before you're shot. And it has that replay value where the moment you're kind of caught in a level, it just goes right back to the start of the level, and it's very quick and it's very instant. So there's lots of kind of, I'll just try this, nope, that didn't work. I'll just try this, nope, that didn't work. I got shot again. And there's lots of that, just trying to go through that puzzle platform and just trying to solve it. But I'm really enjoying it.
And very atmospheric, it sounds like.
Incredibly atmospheric. There was a bit where I flipped a switch which just lit up this entire room, and then suddenly there was these robots were there, and that was just incredible. That was a moment. I was like, wow, in my headphones it just sounded really good.
Brilliant. Well, so, yeah. Sounds good. I'll have a look at that.
So yeah, that's Black the Fall, and I believe, like I say, it's out on PlayStation 4, and I think it's already out on Steam. It's out on PlayStation 4 and Xbox right now.
Cool.
So Daz, what else have you been playing apart from Mario Kart?
I've had a chance to play many games this week, but one that I did get to play, I didn't know what to play again. I was looking for something, I didn't really know what, and fired up the old Xbox 360. I don't know whether I fired it up first or had the idea first. I think I had the idea of this game first. For some reason, and don't ask me where it came from, I decided I wanted to play Asura's Wrath again. And I thought, I'm sure I bought that. So I put the 360 on, because it's not on backwards compatibility. I put the 360 on. I had a look
it's
through
not on PlayStation Now, then?
I bet it... Actually,
let's have a look.
I bet it's on the Canadian one. I closed the tabs.
Thank God.
for the best. Carry on. Quick, go. I thought you were getting annoyed with that, so I closed the tabs. Don't worry, I'll reopen the tabs. I thought I'd have a go at that, because don't think I completed it. So anyway, I put Asura's Wrath on. If you've never played it, it's a 360 game, highly stylized sort of manga adventure, set in who knows what universe, where demigods are fighting against evil that's coming out of a planet that they rule over. And the game starts in the middle of a massive war. The demigods are in space, and they've got sort of a space station, kind of hallowed space station, presumably, where they live. And they're having a big battle against I think it's the Goma, which are these evil entities that are just spawning from the planet. And there's a big battle that goes on, and you play through this battle as the opening credits roll. And you take control of Asura, and it's a very individual game in the way it's done, because each level of the game is delivered as its own episode of a manga comic, if you like, or a manga series of a show. And so you play through each episode as a level, and each individual episode, a little bit like Metal Gear Solid 4 ended up doing, actually. It has its opening credits, and it has its end, and it even sometimes has a little bit in the middle where it has a recap. It's highly stylized. It looks beautiful still. I mean, this game's quite old now, maybe 2013 or something it came out round about, but it still looked beautiful when I was playing it. Really bright, in your face, primary manga colours. And within, I don't know, say 10-15 minutes of playing it, you realise why it's called Asura's Wrath. Asura, the main character, is very angry in this game, and his anger... He's called Asura's Wrath for a reason. He's basically mad the entire game, and the whole game is like, no, all the time. And that's, you find out why. It's because basically the people who he thought were his friends kill his wife and kidnap his daughter right at the start. And so you then get cast away from this kind of heaven place. You get cast out, and instead of dying, he sort of gets, I don't know whether he gets reincarnated by this magical being, but a magical spider seems to be talking to him all of a sudden, and he's got to climb out of presumably his idea of death, wherever he is. You end up on a big pillar that you've got to climb out of to then take your vengeance upon these guys that betrayed you. And it's such a strange mix. I mean, the start of the game, it ends up being a bit like an on-rail shooter, as you propel yourself down to the planet fighting these bad guys, using a lock-on technique and just firing normal missiles, locking on, and that's great fun. And the story, it gives you cutscenes quite a lot. There's quite a lot of cutscenes in between the playing to flesh out the cinematics. But then you end up playing as well like a brawler, so you'll have set pieces where you're fighting big boss guys, and you'll also have other bits where you're fighting just many minions as well. It's not like Dynasty Warriors, but the combat's a little bit like that, and you've got a quick attack and then a big attack, and then you've got to dodge as well, and you've got a few power gauges going on that you can charge as you're attacking, and you can unleash massive attacks. And for instance, the bit that I just finished on, I ended up meeting one of these gods. It was 12,000 years ago, it turns out, since you've been you were cast out and you've been resurrected, and they fought this deity, and you're just fighting, and he's bigger than you. He's a giant compared to you. He's probably like 3 or 4 times the size of you. You have the first round of the battle. You knock him out off the end of a chasm, and then basically he just gets mad and just grows, and he just gets massive. And then you're fighting him, and he's sort of as tall as a skyscraper. And then it's in typical, just massively bonkers, too far, crazy manga style. You beat him again, and he gets even angrier. And he just gets that big, he just grows that big until he's bigger than the entire planet. And then he's looking down on you, and the camera sort of zooms out, and this massive god guy is just sort of like looking. The camera zoomed out to space, and he's bigger than the planet that you're on. And he basically gets his finger, and he just prods you from space, and his fingers zooming towards you. It's all burning up in the atmosphere, and he basically squashes you with his finger. And then you've got to like battle from underneath his fingers to defeat him, and it's just so insane and so too far. It's completely refreshing, and it's very enjoyable, probably very niche, but if you want to see something different, if you're a bit bored of the old, same old, I tell you something, have a look at Asura's Wrath. It's a shame it's not on backwards compatibility, but I'd forgotten how good it was, and it's just hilariously insane. I'm quite enjoying that at the moment.
Wow, that sounds bonkers. I remember seeing it when it came out. Does the main character kind of have like a necklace, like a round kind of beaded necklace? I can kind of see that in my...
And his skin's got sort of a texture as if it's all been scratched, or as if it's been made out of clay and then had a comb put over it, sort of thing.
He's got a touch of Akuma about it, I think.
That's it.
He has got a touch of the Akumas, yes. And if you want to have a look, there's a demo, if it's still up there, because the first time I ever saw it was from a demo on 360. So if any of you guys are interested and you've got a 360 available, dust it off, download Asura's Wrath demo, because the demo, if I remember correctly, is the battle that I just told you about. It's just insane. It's just worth it for that.
If anything's going to get you in, it sounds like it's going to be that, though.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I'd forgotten how amazing it was, and I was just like, look at this, look at how massive he is. And then attacking you with his finger sounds ridiculous, but he's just so... His finger's as big as the US. It's ridiculous. And the way that it does it, it's good fun. I wish they'd do either an HD remaster, or I wish that it had been popular enough to maybe follow up on, because it's such a nice idea. Is it a Capcom game?
Sounds like a Capcom game to me, yeah.
Yeah. So, great fun, Asura's Wrath.
Wow.
And yeah, it's not a long game either, so I'm gonna enjoy going through that, and then I'll be a bit like you, Antony, again, thinking again what's going to get me through to Shadow of War.
Is that your next one? Is that the next big one on your list?
I think before it's the new one. It's the Uncharted.
Right.
The Uncharted game. I think that comes out a little bit sooner, but they're all a while away.
Oh yeah, that's end of August, isn't it? The Uncharted. You can't really call it DLC, can you? The continuation of the Uncharted story.
Uncharted Lost Legacy. I suppose that's it, isn't it? It's its own thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely right. So let's jump.
No, we can't just yet. Hold on, I'm just on Assassin's Creed Rogue, Assassin's Creed Limited, Assault Hero. Asura's Wrath. Yep, it's available in Canada.
Is it available in the UK?
Let's move on to the news.
Oh, it's like Darren's Wrath.
Darren's Wrath. And this game involves basically just comparing two tabs.
Oh, that's superb. So that's on the PlayStation Now in Canada. You need to move to Canada, Daz, I think.
I think all gamers are going to need to live in Canada to benefit from this gaming utopia that I did not know was there.
Exactly. They have Tim Hortons and PlayStation Plus. What more could you want?
I'm on the English site. What you get on PlayStation Plus in the UK is air conflict, specific carriers, and alienation.
James, why did you do this?
I'm going to close the tabs again. The tabs are closed.
So let's start the news section. And in this week's news section, we have Top of the Flops. I'm very interested in this. Summer games done quick. And we're also introducing Beta Corner as well. So I get a segment this time, Daz. But first, Daz, the first piece of news is with you.
It is, and this is a piece of news, as you just alluded to, about the biggest console flops. It sounds a bit negative, doesn't it? But this is Top of the Flops. And what we're talking about, it's not like consoles that have flopped, but it's a little bit done by GameSpot, which compared recent systems to how many teraflops they had. So we can look at each system and see how many teraflops they've got. So that's interesting, isn't it? Don't shout all at once. So first of all, we've talked about flops before, and I tried to explain as best I could what a flop was and stuff. I don't know whether I got it exactly right, but GameSpot gives a little synopsis. So we're hearing about flops more and more, aren't we? Really, with the unveiling of the Xbox One X, Scorpio. I think that was really when the teraflop got introduced to the mainstream, because they were like, bang, we wanted 6 teraflops. And then people were like, well, what's a teraflop, etc. Well, GameSpot give a little summary, and as I say, we've gone over it before, but that was months ago, so we'll have a quick recap using GameSpot's information. So it stands for floating point operations per second, and it's used to measure a console's maximum graphical potential. Okay, so you can have a gigaflop, which is a billion flops, and a teraflop, which is a trillion flops. So that's how many floating point operations per second. And there's a formula to calculate a teraflop, and that is the number of parallel GPU processing cores multiplied by peak clock speed in megahertz multiplied by 2 divided by 1. Is that a comma or a full stop? 1.000.
It's like the Duckworth-Lewis method, but for graphics cards.
It is. That's what it must be. Now, it also mentions there's some imperfections with teraflops, that while they give a relatively good indication of a console's performance, it isn't absolute. Teraflops only measure a segment of GPU performance, and it gives an example. For instance, the AMD's RX 480 card offers 5.8 teraflops, but is generally a little slower than the NVIDIA GTX 980, but that card offers 4.6 teraflops, so it's not a hard and fast rule for everything. It's just an idea of this maximum potential. So, without further ado, let's have a look at the recent consoles and how many flops they've got. So we'll start with the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast gave us 1.4 gigaflops of performance, and that was released on the 27th of November 1998. So at that time, we had 1.4 gigaflops of performance. Now, when you think 1.4 gigaflops is a tenth of a teraflop, and the Xbox One X is going to be 6 teraflops. So it gives you an idea of the progress that we've made. Next, we have number 13, Sony PlayStation 2, which gave us 6.2 gigaflops. So a great increase on the Dreamcast there, still in the gigaflop territory. And that was in 2000, March 4th, 2000. Then we've got number 12, the Nintendo GameCube. This gave us an increase in power yet again to 9.4 gigaflops. This was on September the 14th, 2001, which is 1.5 times what the PlayStation 2 gave us just the year before it. So wow. You can see that big rise there. Then we got to the Nintendo Wii.
Oh, just pausing on the game. It just sort of shows what happened, because like the PlayStation 2 obviously ran away compared to the GameCube and what have you. It just shows what a lead platform can do. Like, you could get more out of the GameCube technically, but because the PlayStation was the lead platform for so many things, like everyone just went to that and almost had to, I guess, dumb down what was possible on the GameCube just to get it on the multi-format releases.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people that got a GameCube expecting it to, because it was the most powerful machine, and they were expecting all the games to be like Resident Evil, that the PS2 couldn't do, but they just didn't really get the content they were waiting for, because, as you say, PS2 just sold so much, and at that time, well, I think it was pretty much unprecedented before that a console could sell as much as the PS2 did, so that everything was geared towards it, because a little bit like what happened with the Wii in the end, just everyone threw games at the Wii, didn't they? Because it's like, we'll just throw something at it and someone's going to buy it because so many people have got Wiis. And I think, the PS2 had the same thing, which was to the detriment of a system like the GameCube, which, had that extra power, like 3 gigaflops extra, 1.5 times what the PS2 had. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to the Wii, which came out in 2006. So we had a little bit of a gap there, from 2001 to 2006. That gave us 12 gigaflops.
Debunking the myth that a Wii was merely 2 GameCubes duct taped together.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. because it couldn't have been, because it wasn't powerful. It wasn't as powerful. So there you go. That gave us 12 gigaflops. And what games did that give us with its gigaflops? It gave us Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword, Mario, and the Mario Galaxy games, which are amazing. It kind of didn't matter about power for the Wii, though, and that it just mattered about the playability and that dynamic, didn't it? That that new Wiimote mechanic that everybody loved. Then we got the original Xbox. Then we get this was 5 years before, because this is in order of flops. This one gave us 20 gigaflops. Wow. So this came out in 2001 as well. So 20 gigaflops for this one, and that provided us with such fantastic games as Burnout series, Halo, obviously, and that series, Ninja Gaiden. I remember that might have been a launch game or quite early to launch, and that for me had a distinct difference from the consoles that were on the market at the time. You know, the games on that were amazing. When I got my Xbox, I was pretty blown away. Then we've got number 9, which is the PS3. That gave us 230.4 gigaflops. Wow, so a massive increase.
Yes, it's like 30, I say about, the numbers in front of me, 37 times more flops than the previous PS2.
Wow.
That's a hell of a jump.
That is a big jump.
It's a massive jump, and you saw the jump, didn't you? We saw the jump with the games that were showcased on the PS3. So then we got to that, and then we got to the Xbox 360, which came out in 2005. This gave us 240 gigaflops, and that gave us, as we know, Gears of War. I think that was a graphical powerhouse, wasn't it? The Gears of War series, and loads of other beautiful games. Viva Pinata,
Yay!
using every single flop it had. Then we've got the Wii U. So the Wii U gave us 352 gigaflops, which was 29.3 times what the Wii gave before it, which is quite amazing, and another amazing jump. Though when I think about it, you didn't really see that much difference.
No,
it's strange considering it was like nearly 30 times more. Had 30 times more flops, 32 times more graphical power. It's quite amazing.
But
that was the way.
I think it should be noted, like when you switch to the Wii U and when you switch to the PS3 and the Xbox 360, this is where HD came in. Like all that floppage was taken up by just trying to support the extra resolution. You tend to be talking about at least 4 times as many pixels and all the extra shaders and hopefully better frame rate. So half of it probably just got absorbed by merely just expanding the size of the picture, let alone the fidelity itself. Obviously there was that increase, but an awful lot of it would have just been sucked up by making the render targets bigger.
You're right. It's like instead of doing one screen, it was actually kind of powering three screens all of a sudden.
Yeah,
or 4. Yeah. Exactly. You're absolutely right. So it all got sucked up into that. If we'd all have stayed in sort of CRT 480i, it probably would have been. I don't know what we'd have been looking at.
We'd have like 240 hertz, like possibilities of just.
Yeah, it would have been amazing. It would have been blurry as heck, but it would have been
run
film
exquisitely.
Yes. It would have run so well. Fluid. At number 6, then we've got the Switch, and that gives us have we got 2.8 times as graphically powerful as the Wii U before it, and it's the only Nintendo console that offers a teraflop. So we're coming out of the gigaflops.
Yay!
And
we're in the teraflop territory now.
We're in teraflop territory, and that's what Nintendo have done with the Switch. They've lifted the Nintendo console range out of the gigaflop and into the teraflop. And we all know what that does. Mario Kart 8, Zelda, wow. And that's what you can do with the teraflop. Then number 5 in top of the flops, we've got the Xbox One, giving us 1.31 teraflops, which meant it gave 310 more gigaflops than the Switch that launched after it.
Wow.
And it's 5.4 times as many flops as the 360. So, it was a big jump. It was a big jump. Then, in terms of flops, the next biggest is the Xbox One S. Takes the flop count to 1.4. 1.4 teraflops for the Xbox One S. Then, you get the PS4, which took us to 7.9 times as many flops as the PS3, with 1.843 teraflops. And that's the PS4. PS4 Pro ups the teraflops even more and offers 4.2 teraflops for the PS4 Pro, which is 2.2 times as much as the original PS4, which is quite a jump. And then number 1, obviously, we all know, is the Xbox One X, set for November the 7th, 2017. And that's the console that's going to give us this hallowed console record, never been done before, 6 teraflops of GPU power. Puts it 1.8 teraflops ahead of the PS4 Pro, and it's 4.5 times as many teraflops as the Xbox One. And so top of the flops is the Xbox One X. But it's an interesting journey to see how the flops grew.
But where was the NES on this list?
The NES Classic?
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if the NES could even do a flop. But yeah.
I think you'd have to go to like Mega Flop.
Just literally, you could time it on a stopwatch back then.
Yeah, or Bit Flop. I don't know. I'm trying to work out where I'd go before Megabyte. It'd just be Bit Flop, wouldn't it? I don't know. But there you go, guys. I hope that wasn't too boring for you. A little tour of flops for you.
That's awesome. I like that when we come into the teraflop territory. That was cool. That was good fun. Superb. James, next piece of news is with you.
Yes, some more large numbers with me, and Summer Games Done Quick came to a conclusion in the last few days, raising a record $1.7 million for charity. So for people who don't know, Summer Games Done Quick is a group of speedrunners who get together twice a year for Good Games Done Quick and Summer Games Done Quick, and they stream for over, I think it's a week-long event showing the best speedrunners around. And speedrunning is just trying to get through games as quickly as possible, but half the time it isn't just doing it quick, it's knowing the quirks and the little hacks that you can possibly do to get through the game itself. So that one of the really good ones was there was a chap who just astounded me by playing Portal 2 in co-op mode by himself and getting through the entire game in like 45 minutes or something like that. It's incredible to actually watch.
Wow.
I didn't watch a huge amount because there's some of the games can still take a couple of hours despite being a speedrun. Like when you try to speedrun the entirety of Zelda, or when you're trying to do Mario Kart Wii or Chrono Trigger, there's like the Chrono Trigger one took 3 hours on its own, and that's a speedrun. But I just love the fact that this is not only something that is getting advertised and pushed to the public, like this seemed to be going around the press last week, but the fact it's raising so much money for charity as well. It's like a double whammy. It's getting this art form out there and doing some good at the same time.
Fantastic. That's excellent.
So do you guys, do you have a potential game that you'd be able to speedrun if push comes to shove? I mean, not to the levels these guys do, but like, is there anything that you reckon you could just whip through lickety-split?
There's a speedrun challenge on Spelunky that I got the achievement for. You had to beat it in a certain time.
Nice.
And it was a hard trophy to get, but I got it, but I can't remember what my time was. But it was pretty fast. Let me think. It's like say 6 seconds a level. I know, it's like do the game in it's like 2 minutes.
Wow.
Something like that.
Okay.
But I'd need to practice because it's been a while. It took a while to get it. So that'd be a good one. You can do it quick. The thing with Spelunky, there's no glitches. You know, you've got to legitimately do it. People can do it really quick though with the teleport item. I've seen videos of people who they pick up a teleporter and just go. They just teleport through the entire level. Don't hit anything. It's completely. They must have tried it millions of times because the teleporter has got a random area that you can. It just teleports you into a rock. Most of the time,
right?
And people can do that entire game in. You know, you look at the leaderboards and like, how have you done that game in 10 seconds? I don't understand. But so that would be one I'd pick. What about you, Anthony? Have you got a game you're swift at?
I don't know. I'm just trying to think. That's why I was quiet. That was me thinking. I'm just like, I know I've played like kind of Halos quite a lot. You know, a lot of time where we've kind of been playing like Halo, the original Halo, because I played that and played the Master Chief Collection and when it was remastered and things like that. And we were quite swift going through that, even on Heroic, and that was kind of Nicola and I kind of co-oping through it. So I think kind of something like that I would be able to kind of quickly kind of speed through. I was thinking kind of, you know, back if I got my old spreadsheet out, how quick I could do Viva Pinata, because I think if I was focused and I had and I could level them up and I could get.
And if those Rorios came out on demand,
exactly. See, that's the problem, isn't it? You know, that's the problem. You're actually attracting something to your garden and getting it to stay. But I was thinking I could do that because the spreadsheet that we have was quite complex. You know, so if I kind of blanked out all of that and then kind of started working my way through, I could do that quite quickly. What about you, James?
I think I can't think of a whole game. I can do certain levels like super fast. Like the first couple of levels of Solar Jetman or something, I could whip through in record time. But I think it'd be more like the puzzle games I'd try for, like getting like 100 combos in things like Tetris or Hexic or Dr. Mario. I reckon like the speed runs of those of just merely getting to like a high bar, I reckon I could give a good stab at.
Yeah, back in the day, I probably would have been pretty good on Tapper.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I mean the Commodore 64 version I could like ace pretty quick, but the true arcade version is that's a bit tougher. But yeah, Tapper I was pretty good at. I was going to say Journey, but I think that's just got one speed. you can't really speed through.
No, that's what I was thinking.
Same with Flower. There's games that they've only got one speed, haven't they? It doesn't matter how you play it unless there's a glitch.
Yes. Oh, that's got me thinking now. What game I could speed run?
It's good. I mean, I think the fact they keep advertising as well, and I love the fact there's different ways of doing it. Like, I guess there's automated ones, because there's games like Mario and stuff that if you want to do a legitimate speedrun through, but you can actually program in the commands to do it. It's just incredible to try and see the different categories that people create as they find new ways of trying to force their way through these things.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about when Prey came out, and there was guys that were completing it. I think the record's been broken again to like, I don't know, 15, 14 minutes now. And they just found a glitch with the start of the game. They jumped out of the space that you were supposed to stay in that initial room, jumped out onto the foundations of the structure, and then just like wormed the way round the edges of the engine, and just went to the top floor and completed it. And it's like, wow. And I presume that's legitimate in a speedrun, because it's you're not, it's in the game, isn't it? The game allows you to do it, so that's okay.
Yeah. Cool. But yeah, almost 2 million raised, so it'd be interesting to see where they go and what games they pick next time round.
Wow. So I suppose, do they, like you said, good games done well, or what was the one? This one. This was
Summer Games.
Summer Games. So would that be just the latest releases that they're sort of playing?
Oh, no, not necessarily the latest releases. I know they did Banjo-Kazooie halfway through that. There was a whole load of Legend of Zelda stuff. They basically have to try and fill a week's worth of programming. So there's games from all over the shop. Like scrolling down their YouTube channel, there's Metroid Fusion, Super Mario, Kingdom Hearts, Star Wars Jedi Knight 2, X-Men Mutant Apocalypse, the arcade game. So there's just loads of different games they try. I guess it's people who are feeling bold and have a potential to set a new record or a personal best. Yeah,
something like Kingdom Hearts, on a big RPG, it'd be so difficult, because imagine that you're like, right, I'll do this as fast as I can, but to then try and beat your score, you've probably got to play it for like, I don't know, 20 hours.
Yep, it's the Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. They speed run it in 3 hours 2 minutes.
Oh my goodness me! Oh, crikey!
Wow!
I might have to have a look at that.
Get practicing.
Yeah. Wow. I want to just like, how do they do that?
Yeah, exactly. We'll stick a link in the show notes, because I think I want to have a look at some of these. These sound great.
Or this might be more up your streets. Final Fantasy VII in, guess how much?
Oh, my first playthrough, and I never played an RPG when I played that, was about 37 hours. So I'm going to say, but from what you've just said, 8 hours.
It's pretty much, 7 hours 48 minutes. So know where to go, what to do. I guess, just blat through it.
Yeah, just play Final Fantasy. I suppose you're allowed to skip all the dialogue.
Yeah, I don't think you have to sit and watch the credits to appreciate the work at the end of this one.
I see. In my speedrun castle, that wouldn't be allowed. You have to watch the credits. A game with a speedrun would live or die on that.
Credits run, yes.
Brilliant.
Fantastic. Next piece of news is with me, and that is that we're getting 2 new additions to EA Access, or EA Origins if you're on PC, or Origin Access I think it's called on PC, but EA Access, we're getting Battlefield 1 and Titanfall 2 are both coming to EA Access in September. So these are kind of the big 2 shooters of last year that kind of EA had. Both of them are coming to EA Access, so I think it's quite interesting that these are coming so soon.
I heard some noise this week basically saying you just almost have to sit it out, like I think people said with PlayStation Plus early on. But I think it makes sense because it's not. They've both been out. Battlefield, has been out for almost a couple of years. Titanfall 2, so it makes sense. They must have got to that point in the chart where they're saying this is not bringing in any money.
Yes.
On its own. So let's at least put it as free, and people might buy the DLC. I mean, I don't think this is necessarily them retiring it. This is giving them a second chance. This is like when an MMO goes free to play. Let's give more people access, and maybe if they like it, maybe they'll just buy, use a tip jar or something like that. But I'm looking forward to this because I subscribe to EA Access. More because I forgot to cancel it than anything else, but I'm actually looking forward to try the Star Wars Battlefield approach, because I know you guys were waxing lyrical about it. I just never jumped in. I just didn't feel that I wanted to play a Star Wars multiplayer game at the time, so now I can at least jump in and see what it was all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like Star Wars Battlefront, that's already available, which is right now, which is available. They've also added all of the DLC, actually. Recently, they've added Outer Rim, Bespin, Death Star, and Rogue One Scarif Beach as well, are all added. So now, when you fire up Star Wars Battlefront, you can go to the added downloads, I think it's called, or wherever you need to go to get the extra menus. And if you're an EA Access member on Xbox One, it just says install, so you then just need to go through and you can install, like I say, all those map packs that were available as part of the season pass. But to get kind of Battlefield 1, which is the World War 1 shooter, and then Titanfall 2, which were like I say, the big ones as well, this is just really proving its worth, because you've also got Madden, you've got FIFA, you've got NHL, and I was given EA Access as a birthday present, and I'm just absolutely loving it. It's a chance to try some different games, and even though I played both those games over on PlayStation 4, because at that point the PlayStation 4 Pro was the better version, so I went over to there because both of them were like HDR, etc. So I kind of went over to PlayStation 4 Pro and played those. So it'll be quite cool when they come. But also, if you have Origin Access, which is the PC version, you also get Sims 4 Digital Deluxe Edition, Oxenfree, which is another game I'm tempted to jump into, and also Rebel Galaxy, which is Double Damage's space game. So there's quite a lot coming to both EA Access and Access Origins.
Yeah, I didn't realise Oxenfree was EA. So yeah, no, that's a surprise. So I guess they must have had some sort of publishing deal with that. But yeah, fair play, unless they are trying to turn into like their own little Netflix and add other aspects. Yeah, because I quickly pulled up the Wikipedia for Oxenfree. It doesn't mention it anywhere.
No, it's Night School Studios, isn't it, who make Oxenfree? But it must have just been produced or published by EA. But like I say, that's only available on the PC version.
Fair news. Okay.
But the price of EA Access as well is just, it's a great price point.
It really is. It's what, $29.99. I think it's about £25 in the UK for the year.
Not per month.
No. And if you downloaded Battlefield 1, Titanfall 2, and Star Wars Battlefront, that's more than that. You've got a bevy of games there, with then also a chance to just try out the sports games as well.
And you're into your sports games, aren't you, James?
Yeah. The reason I actually signed up for EA Access was to get an early shout at the FIFA. I can't remember whether it was this year or the year before, because you get like 10 hours free to play it. And yeah, that was enough of a trial for make me go, yep, I want more to go and play this. But whereas I converted on that one, I think I dabbled with the Madden, and I've dabbled with a couple of other things, but it's definitely been worth it, because I'd have paid it just for the 10 hours I played with FIFA already.
Yeah, and then you've got all that extra overspill to enjoy for another year since you get it. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now they have the second Mirror's Edge game, which I know both you guys kind of were a little bit lukewarm on, but they have that. They also have Plants vs. Zombies, Garden Warfare 2, that's there, and you can have a 10-hour, if you hate yourself, you can have a 10-hour trial of Mass Effect Andromeda as well.
The thing is, for £25 a year, you don't mind getting involved with a few lukewarm experiences just to have a dabble, do you?
Exactly.
And I think, especially with Mirror's Edge, if you go in with less preconceptions or less hopes of what it might be, I think it could surprise a few people.
And I've always been surprised with the EA Access because it just works so well on the Xbox One. It knows that you're an Access member, so you just download these games. Similar to the Games Pass as well. The buy button becomes an install button, and you just install those games, and you don't have to stay within the EA Access hub or anything like that. So it works just really well. Like I say, I bought it as a birthday present and been very impressed with it. And we'll probably...
I had a little gander at it because they made it free over the week of E3, didn't they?
They did indeed, yes.
So I had a little look because I hadn't got EA Access. I went through the games. I only bothered getting Feeding Frenzy, which I know is ridiculous, but that was the game that I tested it with. And it was really good. And, I was thinking, oh no, are they going to try and charge me when it ended? And because the game was still in my list after the week had ended, and then a few weeks after I noticed it, and I thought, I'll just see what happens if I try and play it. And it just did that message where it asks for the disc. You know that message for your disc, isn't it? It said, you haven't got the disc or whatever. Either insert the disc or buy it from the store. And I thought, that's good. It didn't try and charge me or anything. And I like it. There's just, for me, because I'm not that into the sport games, I've not bothered joining. But I think if you are into your sports games, man, it's rich. I just think it's a real good bargain.
Yeah. But imagine if, like last year, you were so into some other game that you never got a chance to play Battlefield 1 or Titanfall 2, which I know you've kind of finished both of those campaigns. But if you hadn't done that, this is just perfect with these coming in September.
It totally is. I mean, Titanfall 2 I loved, and Star Wars is great. I haven't played Battlefield 1. But imagine if you hadn't played those three. It's just, rude not to jump in for those.
Well, it was quite good because on PlayStation, I've got Star Wars Battlefront on both PlayStation and Xbox. But on the Xbox, all I have is just the normal games. I don't have any of the DLC. I have Scarif Beach and the Death Star packs. I have those on the PlayStation 4 because of VR and also because Rogue One is just awesome. So it was really cool just to actually try Bespin and Outer Rim, just to try those on Star Wars Battlefront as well. So I just was like, yep, I'll bag all of those and just kind of have a quick go. And I just jumped in and just kind of played the Bespin. It was really interesting because Bespin, there wasn't a lot of players at the time I was playing it. There wasn't a lot of players around kind of jumping into a multiplayer on that one, because you can actually say, I just want to play this DLC rather than just give me the next big game, to the next big 40-player game, and I'll jump into that. I just kind of jumped into Bespin, and it was slim pickings. I think it was like 6v6 on that one. But looked...
Wow, how times have changed.
Yeah, exactly. But looked absolutely fantastic, and Bespin's always a standout location from Empire Strikes Back. But I can hear James switching off, so let's do the next. They're like, they're talking about Star Wars again. I've got more Star Wars later, but Daz, the next piece of news.
What? With you? James is just being polite. We appreciate it, James. Thank you.
James here says more Star Wars coming, just takes his headphones off. I'm off.
Yeah, he just walks out of the room.
Big sheep on everything, and then he just leaves.
Can we just compress it to a Star Wars news desk, then I know when I can go?
Yeah.
We'll ring a bell for you when we finish. So the next piece of news with me, and this is an interesting story about graphics cards. Apparently there's been a bit of a graphics card shortage, and when they're not in short supply, because of the shortage of supply, there's been some big price increases on mid to high level gaming GPUs. And what's the reason for this, everybody cries? Well, it's an interesting reason. The reason is because of Bitcoin, or not just Bitcoin, but cryptocurrencies in general. Now, why is that? I'll tell you why. What happens, and this is going to be very simplified because I don't really understand it, but really, with what happens with a cryptocurrency. Now, cryptocurrencies are those ethereal currencies that are out there in the ether that you can buy stuff with anonymously, as far as I know. So there's Bitcoin, but there's also other ones. There's one called Ethereum, I think I'll say, and there's one called Zcash, and there's probably some others. And what happens with these is that they exist as part of, and I don't know if you guys know more about this than me, so correct me if you've got a nice simple way of explaining this or if I'm getting it wrong. But what happens with Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies is that they exist as part of what they call a blockchain, okay? And there's a blockchain which is full of algorithms. And as the algorithms get solved, the more and more cryptocurrency gets generated, okay? And that has value to the currency. Okay. Now, in order for these algorithms to be solved, it needs computer processing power to do that. And this is the weird thing. Anybody can decide to start decrypting the algorithms within these blockchains to increase the currency of the cryptocurrency, okay? And if you take part in doing that, you can make money yourself, because every time you help solve part of the algorithm that generates the cryptocurrency, you get a share. So you can make cryptocurrency by taking part in generating the cryptocurrency. Okay, so all of a sudden there was a big rise in one of these cryptocurrencies called Ethereum. And people were like, wow, that's great. Because I think with Bitcoin, Bitcoin took off, and it basically, the more algorithms get solved, the bigger the puzzle is. And so the more CPU it takes, and it got to a stage where you need like a server room to be able to decode to make money. And actually you wouldn't really make any money because the amount of servers you'd need and electric to do the CPU power, it wasn't worth it. But at the beginning of Bitcoin, I remember thinking of trying to do this myself. You could get a graphics card that was, I think it was more CPU processing power you needed then. But anyway, you could get a graphics card that was sort of more, that had a great CPU side to it, or great processing power. And you could harness that power and use it not for graphics, but basically for mining bitcoins, it was called. And so it would like decode these algorithms, and you could make money. And this has happened again with this Ethereum currency. And so all of a sudden, people have been all the people that are into this decryption have just sort of bought up all these graphics cards. So there's been a massive shortage of all the AMD cards. First went because they're sort of got the best reputation for doing this crypto mining. So once the price started to rise of this cryptocurrency, more and more people wanted to get a piece of the action and start decoding the algorithms. So all of a sudden, all sort of AMD RX 750 and RX 580 cards just started getting bought up from all the stores. And then when they ran out, they moved on to the NVIDIA cards, and the NVIDIA GeForce 1050s, 1060s and 1080 cards just started disappearing as well.
Wow.
And so demand was just outstripping supply by a country mile, basically. So that's what's happened. And now I had a little look on Amazon at the graphics cards. Like, my graphics card is like more than I bought it for because of this, because they've been buying them all up. And I just thought, wow, I never even realised it. And reading a little bit more into it, so anybody, if you're willing to take the time to learn how to do it, you can take part in this crypto mining and actually make money. Now, I don't really know how to do it. I didn't read enough of how to do it. And I probably, because I know about it, probably means that I've missed the boat, because that's what usually happens with me. I certainly did when I read about it on Bitcoin. I was like, wow, I can make $1 million using my laptop. And then it was like, yeah, but millions of people have been doing that for 10 years. And like, it's impossible to do now without buying. The electric would cost you too much, sort of thing. But that's what's happened. There's been this new cryptocurrency. Everybody that knows, the guys that know the score, not me, but these guys that have got their ear to the ground, they're like, wow, this is a demon, we can do this. Bought up all these cards to mine, to make money for themselves. And the turnover I saw, it said that if you spent about $2,500 on a PC specifically for this, you could turn over 10 grand in a year. So, not a vast profit, but still, you just clear 7,500 quid for nothing, just for leaving your PC on in the corner doing its job. So apparently,
I'm reading this and I'm still quite confused on how you make money for it. I know this exists and I know the mining is, but I've just pulled up a 9-page white paper on it, and I feel I'm about to descend down a rabbit hole that I do not want to go down.
Please skim it for us and explain.
Yes, it's basically voodoo.
As far as I know, is like when you set your computer off and it just beavers away, whirs away, working on the algorithms as part of the blockchain that make up the cryptocurrency. And when you find a coin, or when you have success on unlocking a part, let's say it's a big puzzle, and when your system has success unlocking part of the puzzle, because you've taken part in helping that that progress, then you get some of the currency into an account that you have to set up to be able to be part of the mining. And there's different ways you can do it. You can either be a single miner, or you can work as part of a group. If you work as part of a group, you'll get a hit rate of success more, but you have to share it with the group. And if you do it alone, well, depending on how many computers you've got working on it, I suppose. If you do it alone, you would have less of a hit rate, but when you do hit, you'll get all of that, all the share
juicy
that's
goodness.
given. You'll get all that juicy goodness to yourself. I don't really understand it either, but there's many people that do, and because they do, there's been this big massive ramp up in buying graphics cards, up to the point where the graphics card suppliers have said that they're going to start supplying GPUs that are completely focused just on the aspects of power needed to do the crypto mining. So they're going to be like dedicated crypto mining graphics cards that wouldn't be any good for us in our PCs to do gaming with. They're going to be just for that, to try and quell this price thing. But I suppose they're not bothered. They're selling the cards anyway. What I worry about is if it carried on, which it won't, it'll probably just be a little, it's a little peak, and then it'll sort of become too hard, and you need too many graphics cards to be able to get the processing power to carry on with the algorithm, because every time you solve a bit, it adds more to the chain, which means you're going to use more CPU power to decode it, so it sort of gets harder and harder as time goes on. But the worry is, could it have an impact on the components that we use in our consoles as well? Could it mean that Xbox One X, couldn't get enough silicon or something because all the, or couldn't get the parts they need for that because the graphics cards are getting bought so much? I don't know. But I just thought, when I saw that there was graphics card shortages and the prices were shooting up, I thought, why is this? And I tell you something, I never would have thought that it was because of cryptocurrency being mined by people. And
it's a new one, because it's usually like the cost of gold or the cost of other
one of the
rare metals, isn't it? Yeah, just usually going up, and so everything spikes. Memory gets expensive, or the CPUs get expensive. But
because it does fluctuate all the time, doesn't it? It's a strange market for I didn't realise. I bought my graphics card. I thought that was it, but I didn't realise they're a bit like RAM or maybe other components as well. And it does the prices can change really regularly. They can go up and down. It's bizarre. I'm just annoyed that I didn't know about this, because by the time it's on the news, it's kind of like you've missed the boat. I wish that I was some kind of super cool hacker guy that knew about this, because as far as I can see, this is completely legal, and you can just dedicate some resource to it, and you can actually make not loads of cash, but I suppose that's just relative to how much you're willing to spend on mining, but you can actually make money from this, from basically just kicking off your computer, and your computer just whirs away doing it for you. You do nothing. You go out to the pub, come back, check your computer, bing, we had one hit. You get £10.
£1 million. You're a millionaire. You go out to the pub, you drink beer, come back, you're a millionaire.
That's probably that's the dream that's been sold to all these guys that are buying up all these graphics cards. But
this time next year, Rodney.
Yeah, us three, man. We'll enter a crypto mining group together.
I'll get out my NES and all its flops, and off we go.
There you go. With the amount of flops we've got, we're going to be millionaires in 2 weeks. So yeah, if you're interested, like you say, you had a quick look, didn't you, James? And I found that the learning curve went up pretty sharply as I was reading this stuff.
Yep.
But the information is out there. Have a look, have a try. If you have any success, don't forget your old mates, the Gamers of the Lost Stars. Yeah. So that's it. The next thing is with you, James.
Yes, yeah. It's I'm not quite sure how to segue to this one. So I'll just say that Valve has got the banhammer out. So Valve is attacking the hackers and ne'er-do-wells on two fronts. Recently there has been the big Steam sale that I'm sure everyone bought a ridiculous amount of PC games for near to nothing. But after that happened, Valve issued their biggest ever banhammer, like knocking out over 40,000 Steam accounts in one day.
Wow.
The previous record were 15,000 a couple of years back. So this is a high number. But the reason they say they did it was they spotted a huge number of accounts effectively trying to buy the game cheap on a second account, then trying to see if cheats and hacks and mods would work on it, and then potentially bring it back into their main account. So the Valve anti-cheat software, VAC for short, just started detecting these patterns, and then after a while, bam, all these people got banned just on one big day. They collected the data and off they went. And then to go hand in hand with that, Valve actually managed to patch Half-Life. People may remember this game. Yeah, almost 20 years after it originally launched, they patched Half-Life, and all the patch notes said were to fix crashes from malformed strings, malformed BSP files, malformed saves, weird things in the game itself. So they've obviously detected some real spike in cheating going on in old and new games. So fair play for them taking such extreme action, and fair play for still having a code base you can patch after almost 20 years.
Wow. So that's why they patched it, to stop cheating, because I wasn't sure what the patch was for.
Well, I guess it could go, because I guess if you can potentially load files that do, execute their own code, be it on a server or your PC, maybe there was some potential risk for, servers or other people's machines. So,
oh wow! Man, I didn't know that. I was maybe I'll be able to get past the title screen. It never did work for me, Half-Life.
The speed run of getting to the game. Yeah,
I'm going to get that patch and we'll be able to play it now. Oh wow! It's just amazing to think. Do you think they drew straws for that? Who's going to patch Half-Life?
Can someone dust out the 486 and bring it out of the cupboard? We need to get it back online. Get that dial-up modem going. We're bracing a patch.
Wow.
Brilliant.
So explain it. Why were they banning? Why were they banning those guys?
They effectively to prevent cheating, I guess, almost before it happened. Certain quarters were creating a secondary account, buying games in the sale, then testing out the cheats and mods on that secondary account.
Got you.
Before potentially bringing it back into their primary account.
Wow.
So it was almost like they were testing the water, like, can we get away with this? Can we get away with this? And then, bam!
Wow, they got him. Scoops them up in one big net.
Yeah, I don't think they tend to release too many details on the whys and the wherefores, I guess, to keep it quite vague, to keep themselves ahead of the cheaters. But they estimate that about $7,500 worth of goods and items were forfeited by the cheaters, so it's not inconsequential.
Wow.
Now I realise what Valve are doing all the time. They're like intensely working out how to ban people, because that's quite complex. So to sort of work out, link the secondary accounts to the primary accounts and all that. That's why Half-Life 3 isn't here.
Yes, that's why we're not getting a new Left 4 Dead, because they're doing this.
This is what they're doing, and this makes more
sense. On the original Half-Life code base.
Yes.
Yeah. Gabe's going to come out and he says, "Now you see what we've been doing. Half-Life 3. Yes." We had to pause it because there was some important patches that we needed to make on Half-Life, and we needed to ban 40,000 users.
Yes. Do you ever think we'll get Half-Life 3? Do you think it will ever come? Do you think it will ever be released?
No.
Wow, definitely not. I'd like to hope so. Cautiously.
What have they got to
gain?
From this? Nothing but heightened expectations. Like, they are making money hand over fist with everything they've got going right now, so it's not even a financial need.
Yeah, they don't need to make games anymore, do they?
Couldn't they give it to another studio? Couldn't they say, do you know what, you guys... Right. Because didn't 2 leave on like a cliffhanger?
You got episode 1 and episode 2 after that, didn't you? Yeah, it did. It totally did.
But would you trust anyone else with Half-Life if you were Valve?
Yeah, I guess so.
And it caused uproar with the fans. I wouldn't want Half-Life to be made by anyone else but Valve. I think it's probably like you've got about as much chance of Half-Life 3 coming out as Winds of Winter coming out by G.R.R. Martin.
He reckons he's close. He reckons he's close, though, doesn't he? He reckons he's close.
Yeah, whatever. He did an apology on New Year's Day, didn't he? Like at the beginning of the year, saying, "Oh, I know I said it was supposed to come out this year, but I'm too busy partying with HBO." So I think it was when James said, "What have they got to gain?"
Yeah.
And it just made me think of G.R.R. Martin, because I always think, what's he got to gain at his time of life when he's got HBO and a team of writers now, and it's probably so much easier for him to just get it onto the screen than actually sit down with his paper. And like, apart from the fans wanting it, if it comes down to him, maybe he's just sick of it, and maybe Valve just think, like you say, James, it's just, I'd hate to admit it, but I suppose it's probably never coming, is it?
No, I mean, I think that shooters have changed so much since even Half-Life 2 came out, let alone Half-Life 1, that I think there is so much more potential for a slip-up. I mean, it's almost like Mario in some respects. Every time there's a new Mario game that people expect this innovation or this new way of platforming to occur for him to excite and to innovate or so. And, I don't think necessarily Cappy is the most original idea. It's good, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to troll Mario, but in terms of the grand schemes of platforming, it's not the next step. It's just an interesting gimmick that I think they will use in some very interesting ways. But I think Half-Life has got the same problem. It's like, where do you go? You've got to try and match the likes of Halo and of Wolfenstein and Doom and all these other ones have been for as long and keep trying to push their own stories forward. And like shooters have gone off in so many different directions, be it narrative or physics driven. There was even things like Red Faction Guerrilla where you went the destructive aspect. Like, what would they do? What would their hook be? Because they had the gravity gun. The gravity gun last time round was amazing because it's like, hey guys, physics are new and shiny. So they've missed the VR boats. As I think that gimmick has gone, shall we say? So unless they're going to try and push the next big thing in sort of like, I don't know, fluids or like holographic stuff, I just can't see how it could be anything other than it's a shooter, a good one, but it's a shooter.
Just another, instead of being the sort of second coming. It's like there's a graph, isn't there, really, you could imagine, with sort of expectation versus time weighted.
Yeah.
And it gets to a point where it's just ridiculous, and the longer you wait, you can never meet the expectation. If you miss that, like once it went past, and let's be generous, once it went past like 5 years, even that would have been probably impossible to hit the expectation after that time. And maybe maybe the plan is, if they were going to do it, they just say, maybe they see an end to that expectation. They'll just say, after 20 years, we'll all be like old men, and they'll bring it out and no one cares, and they're like, yeah, dodged a bullet there. So it's a shame, because I would have liked to have seen, even if they just brought it out and it was the same, in the same engine, even if they just used it in Source, and was it Source 2 for Half-Life? Was it Source? No, Source was the new engine, wasn't it, that they did it in?
I think so.
Anyway, even if they just used the same engine as Half-Life 2 and just brought it to a conclusion, because I enjoyed the narrative in that game, it would be nice, and I'm sure a lot of people would be happy with that, but then the internet wouldn't be happy with that. It would be a big furore about it all. So, I don't like to say no like you, James, but I can't argue with your common sense.
I mean, you're living under the delusion that you're going to get Final Fantasy VII, so just let this one go.
Yeah, all right. I'll settle with Shenmue 3 and Final Fantasy VII. And once I've completed those, I'll come round to Valve. Oh, after Beyond Good and Evil's actually materialised as well.
Right, so next up is something that is actually coming out this year, and we have news of a brand new PlayStation Pro, and this is the Destiny 2 bundle. So along with news of their Destiny beta, which I'll get to in a moment, Sony announced that there is a ice or glacier white PS4 Pro with a 1 terabyte hard drive for Destiny 2. So this was kind of similar, I guess, Daz, to the PlayStation 4 that you bought for the original Destiny.
Yeah, it's a lovely wave of nostalgia, this, because it was Destiny, as I've said a million times on the pod, that made me buy my PS4. Mm-hmm. And when I got the Destiny Glacier White Destiny Edition. So seeing this is just takes me back to there. So thinking there'll be new people that buy this package, maybe it's their first foray into the world of PlayStation 4, and they're going to get a Pro and they're going to get Destiny 2, and they'll embark on a whole beautiful journey just like I did. But years later and in 4K and a lot better. But it's very nice, and it does take me back. Yeah, it's it's like, and it's going to be almost to the day as well, because Destiny sort of is getting released on the same day, isn't it? On the same date that Destiny 1 got released on.
It is indeed, which is like September the 7th or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's it. So how many years has it been then? 4? It's not for 3-4 years ago. Yeah. So I sort of wish I'd waited in a way, but I couldn't have been without my PS4 Pro for that long. But yeah, it's a great excuse if you're going to dive in, isn't it, to Destiny? I'm hoping then that Destiny's going to have a lot of specific bells and whistles for the Pro to make it a good selling point and a good bundle to tempt people over, to tempt the existing owners of a PS4 over.
Yes, indeed. Well, kind of like runs better on Pro kind of badge to it. I know. For PlayStation, Destiny does have some exclusive content. So there's exclusive strikes and ships and gear, etc. They've kind of wrapped into kind of a PS4 exclusive, and that's just not for this bundle. That's for Destiny as a whole. So there is actually kind of a few items, which I think is happening right now in kind of the Destiny that's available now. Destiny 1 has some PS4 exclusive stuff that's never made its way over to Xbox. But yeah, no, it'd be interesting to see, because at the moment they are saying that it's running on, is it 30 frames a second for both the Xbox One S and also for the PS4 Pro, but they haven't got into specifics yet about Xbox One X.
It'll have to be the same. Well, the single player campaign, I suppose, could be different, but the multiplayer would have to be the same, wouldn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
But
it looks lovely. Because I remember you saying that when you kind of bought your Pro, or when you got your Pro for Christmas, that you wanted a white one to replace the PlayStation 4 that you got rid of. So it was quite interesting when I saw this came out, because right at the start,
I know, they always do this.
They do, don't they? They're just like kind of the early adopters. We always get that kind of base model, and then they bring out.
I know. I take some comfort in that the Xbox One S is white, so that's fine, and my PS4 Pro is black, so they swapped. They've both switched. But I was looking at my Xbox One S the other day. Well, I think it was a picture of an Xbox One X, actually, a black, the black model. It looks very similar, doesn't it, to the S in that new format that we've got. And it just, I thought it strikingly similar in design. It never occurred to me before, to the PS2. You know the way that top bit just juts out.
Oh yeah, just the overhang to the left.
Yeah.
And I thought, if you don't look at the top, but just from the side and the front, I was like, that really does remind me of the same aesthetic as the PS2, because I was looking at my PS2 the other day, and I was like, wow, it really does, like a smaller, dinkier one. And I was like, oh man, I wonder if they took something they can't have done, but it just made me think, was there any inspiration there, or subliminal inspiration from the PlayStation 2 for that design? Anyway, but yeah.
I found that a weird nod as well, because there's nothing else that you can compare it to. Like it looks like the PlayStation 2, unless there was this weird thing where just like we got a tiny bit of an overhang, but we really want to keep the footprint small. It seems a bit of a weird disconnect, or a nod. Yeah, maybe a little nod. Yeah. Maybe they thought the PS2 sold well, we'll make it look like that, and we'll have good luck.
Yeah. Indeed, because this is also, like the PS2, is an expensive console as well. So they're like, they'll come out and say, "Oh, you need 2 jobs." So, but as I was teasing earlier, we were talking about the Destiny 2 beta, which is coming just next week. So this time next week, the beta will be up and running. So what we have is we've got quite a lot of dates. So strap in. So what we have is on PlayStation 4, you get early access. So anyone who is on PlayStation 4 who's already pre-ordered Destiny will get early access, and that's running from the 18th to the 20th of July. Over on Xbox One, if you pre-ordered Destiny, you get it from the 19th to the 20th. That's the early access, so you get kind of a day later than the PlayStation 4. And then it becomes open beta on the 21st of July, and then it runs all the way through to the 23rd, and then PC, you are getting a beta in August. So we're kind of, if you're on PlayStation 4, it's kind of running from the 18th, I guess, to the 23rd. And what you'll be getting in that Bungie, in the Destiny beta, is you get the opening story mission, which is called Homecoming. So you get to play some of the story missions. You also get 2 Crucible modes, which is Countdown and Control, which is a zone control multiplayer. You get a cooperative strike, and also you get to try out new subclasses as well for the Warlock, Hunter, and Titan. And you get access to the social space, which is the farm. Now you only get this for 1 hour, which is on the July 23rd at 6 p.m. UK time and 10 a.m. Pacific. You get access to that new social space, so you can kind of see, which I guess is kind of similar to the what was it called in Destiny 1? It was just that kind of big floating orb. The social space. What was that called in Destiny?
This is the hub?
No, I don't know. It wasn't the city.
The tower.
The tower. Thank you very much, James. And there's also kind of new emblems to unlock as well for those who play in the beta. Bungie have also said, it's worthwhile noting that Bungie have also said that the beta will not support clan support or character progression beyond or within the beta will not go over to the full game as well. So it's very similar to the beta that we had for the first Destiny, where you just kind of had to play it all over again when you got the game proper. So, question is, guys, are either you thinking about jumping in?
I'm not usually a beta person, to be honest. I really should, because it will stop me spending money on things like arms. But I think I tend to just when I want to start something, I just want to start from the beginning and know that everything's going to be saved. Like in betas and early alpha type things, it was good fun. Like when we were playing Tom Clancy's The Division.
Yes,
that was really good. That actually sold me on it. But I think I know I'm going to get Destiny. I know I'm not going to get Battlefront. And so I'm not going to be in the beta for either, because my mind is made up on what I'm going to do about those games. So if I was maybe more on the edge, possibly, but because I'm going to get one and not the other, I know that when I start Destiny, I want to know I'm going to be able to carry on and play it all the way through, not lose any progress.
Yes. What about you, Des?
Yeah, I'm sort of the opposite. I know I'm going to get Battlefront. I'm pretty much not going to get Destiny. And actually, this is a bit contrary to what you're saying, James. Or maybe it's the same. If I play the beta of Destiny, it might make me want to buy it. So I'm best off keeping away.
Right.
Because I don't want to get into it, because I'm happy. I decided I'm happy not to get Destiny. I'm going to get Star Wars Battlefront. I know they're not the same by any stretch. I'm waiting for Anthem. I know it's ages away, but I'm happy to wait. Is it
next Christmas? I can't remember.
It's 2018 at the moment. They haven't got. There's no release date for it. It's just 2018.
I was hoping for midway through.
Right.
But yeah. But it's funny because when they did that I love the way they did the announcement for Destiny. Like that hour. It was like an hour show, wasn't it? And I quite liked that. And I was pretty sold. I won't lie. I was pretty sold. And I've always I think we discussed this. To me, this is what Destiny should have been. This sounds like they've corrected a lot of stuff. They've got the single player campaign. It sounds like they learned a lot of lessons. Though I'm reading some things from the community that say it isn't actually enough what they've announced. It's just more of the same. To me, it sounded like they've done quite a lot. But I'm not a big Destiny player, so I don't know. I'm not in the community. But then I saw Anthem, and I just thought, you know what? If there's room in my life for one game like this, it's Anthem, and I'm happy to wait, because I feel after seeing Anthem, the Destiny 2 would be just treading water. That's just the way I feel about it. So I'm going to wait. I know it's a long wait. But you know me, I'm not a massive fan of this. I didn't get the Division. I did play Destiny for a good while, and I did enjoy it. So I'm not saying I wouldn't change my mind. I think what I will do is, if you both are getting it, I will be very interested and I'll listen to your opinions. And you never know, I might be swayed then.
Absolutely. I'm thinking of jumping in. I haven't pre-ordered Destiny yet. I need to do that for both Nicola and I. So we've kind of got to get ready for when, because we're taking the day off when it comes out. But for me, I like jumping into these, especially Destiny's beta, because it's got the opening story mission and also the cooperative strike. Because I like to just kind of test what the world looks like, and also the mechanics of the game. Because the moment we start playing, Nicola's like, "What does this do? What does this do? What should I be doing? Are we doing this right?" So I need to make sure that I have all of those answers, so it's not a frustrating first experience. So when we played the beta before, when we played the Destiny beta before, it was like that. We were both kind of learning together and learning that the mechanics of the game. So this kind of gives us a bit of a toe in, raises that excitement level, because it's we do enjoy playing it. So it raises that excitement level, but we also kind of have an understanding of how the game works now, the mechanics. I'm thinking, as you said, Daz, it's probably going to be more of the same. So it's not going to be complex, but it's just quite nice just to go, right, okay, that's the map, that's how I get to the next mission, there's the cooperative strike, I go that way. So it's just quite nice just to kind of get in and just feel how the game's working. But also, because I did tease that we have beta called, and I think both of you guys have been talking about it as well, is that we have Star Wars Battlefront. So Star Wars Battlefront beta it will be hitting, but this is not until October the 4th. So Star Wars Battlefront beta is coming to Xbox One and also PlayStation 4, and it will be coming for people who have pre-ordered the game. Will be getting on October the 4th, but it will then be public 2 days later on October the 6th. And with this, it's very much going to be, obviously, because Star Wars Battlefront is very heavily on the multiplayer, even if this one's bringing us a story, you'll be able to play in Naboo. So I think we saw it at E3, we saw that big area from Naboo. That's going to be playable in the beta in October. And also there's going to be some multiplayer Starfight Assault Battle that EA are going to give us more details about when Gamescom comes around. So that is September. So they're going to give us more information then. So we're going to have a bit of Naboo and a bit of Starfighter Assault in the beta when it comes around in October.
Wow, sounds like fun to me. Not to James, probably, but certainly.
No, I feel I'm misrepresenting. I'm not against Star Wars, it just doesn't tick the same boxes. So it's nice they're giving some variety, especially knocking back to some of the older movies. So, yeah, I don't dislike it, it just doesn't make me want to rush out and pre-order it, that's all.
It doesn't fire you up?
No.
That's fair enough. I'm just looking forward to being able to properly fly a starship in that game, hopefully, because it was very simplified in the last Battlefront, and to its detriment, I feel. I mean, I'm all for making games inclusive, but just make it an option. Make it an option to lock it so you can't barrel roll and things. Just have it as an option, so that other people that want to have like an extra degree of realism, stroke technicality to the play, can just do that. So. Yeah, again, this is the same story as Destiny, isn't it? Really, there's a lot of things in this game that everybody was crying out for in the last game, but the last game just looked so beautiful that it got a free pass from us, pretty much, didn't it? It's like, oh my goodness, and it's held up well as a multiplayer game. I just wish it would have had that. Wish it would have had this, that, and the other. And it sounds like they're all going to be in this new game, so. That's good. They did a dry run with the other one. It sold well, gave them the money to get everything into this one, so that's great. And they announced, that I love that they announced that the DLC was going to be free as well, but paid for with just aesthetic things. And I think, this has been mentioned a few times. I'm hoping that this is the start of a new trend, where actual content, and we discussed this at length in another pod, didn't we? But it's like, make the content free because that keeps the players in. The more players in, the more players are likely to buy the stuff. And we went through some stats, I remember, that proved that actually works. But when you split the player base, that's when things start to fragment and the players stop because the servers get smaller, and every time you add another piece of DLC that's paid, you get less people taking part. But if you keep everybody in there's more fun to be had, and then people are more likely to spend money on this and that loot crates or whatever it is. I can sort of, and I'm not a great advocate of purchasing in-game stuff anyway, but I think that's a good model, and I think that's a good, I don't know about compromise, but yeah, maybe it's a good compromise for me, as with the business saying, yeah, okay, we understand this, but we'll leave this in, and then that's for people that want to play it. So I'll be interested to see what happens there, and with Destiny actually, how the paid stuff works, because I'm not really aware of how they're going to do that, if it's going to change, if it's going to stay the same.
I think it's going to stay the same because they're already advertising season passes and things like that with content drops going through. So okay. I think it's still going to be probably progression of story, same as what we've had before. So I think that's always going to be like that, and you look at Ubisoft games like The Division, I think you're always going to see that section where it's nice that Halo and Star Wars Battlefront are giving away these new maps, but they're not giving away new modes, where when you look at some of the paid DLC that you've got from The Division, or that you've got from Destiny as well, these are new modes, these are new stories. So I'm totally with you there, where you get these kind of free maps, because there's nothing worse than going, right, who wants to play multiplayer? Go, oh, you haven't got that. Oh, okay, right, well, and then you can't play that new new one because maybe you bought the season pass, and it's again we're leaving little Johnny behind. But there's when it comes to switching stuff up, that's probably where we're going to pay and where we should pay, because I guess that is new content.
Yeah, and this is an infinitely small sample. There's an example that I'm giving now, but I went to my friend's house a few weeks ago, and his son's like 10, and he was playing a game or two, and he said, come on look, Daz, I want to show you these games. So I went and looked and saw what he was playing, and he was playing Skate, actually. He was playing Skate on 360,
right?
No, Xbox One. It might have been Xbox One backwards compatibility, but every game he played, and Skate was included, he was really into the aesthetics. He was really into. He goes, look at this. He goes, you can be a piece of meat. He goes, I bought this. He's like, it's really good. Now I can be a piece of meat. And he's like, well, watch this as well. And he was going through all the different costumes.
Yeah,
like they were a massive thing. And I've never been in. I was interested in them. Obviously, times are changing because I'm just like interested in the game. I'm not really bothered about whether he's got a like yellow jumper or not, or if he's got. But I could tell that this was a big thing. And I was surprised, and I said, you don't want to be buying all this. You bought the game. What are you doing? And he said, yeah, but it's great. He said, look at these trainers. He goes, they were like $150 on sale. He says, like, and I've got the purple trainers, and it's awesome. And I was like, are you really into this? And he's like, yeah, it's really cool. And then he put another game on, and he said, yeah, what I had to do here, he said, I wanted this, like a skin for the gun or something. And he's like, yeah, so I got this pack where I got all these skins. And he goes, look at this. He goes, it's really rare, this one. And he was really enthusiastic about it. And I was thinking, it kind of linked in with these thoughts about charging for aesthetics, but maybe keeping out the gamers together. Honestly, man, I could tell by the way he was talking about it that this was a thing within his group of friends, within his community, within his gaming community, where they've got a real interest. And this is how we used to feel about games. It's like there's more to it now. Like, when we were younger, you just got the game and that was it. But this is a real tangible facet of the game that I've never seen that side of it through a kid's eyes. And I saw it was really there, and he was passionate about getting a different pair of gloves for his character or whatever, getting this paid for content that distinguished him and made him an individual in the player space. And I was like, my goodness me.
Different things drive different people, though. Like, some people want to complete the game, some people want to try and get all the collectibles, some people just want to enjoy the world dressed in a certain fashion. So I guess it's just that certain ways of facilitating DLC help that, but I guess it's as long as it's done in a nice way.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't destroy the core of the game, as long as you don't have to pay to progress.
Yeah,
I think it's fine, and that's completely optional. He was really into this, and it sounded like all his friends were into it as well, which just surprised me, because I suppose when he's not paying for it himself, it doesn't matter, because you just ask mum and dad, don't you? Maybe when he grows up and he's got to pay for it himself, it'll be different. I don't know, but it was the first time I'd actually seen a passion for that sort of thing. I mean, I knew it must be there because the option to do it wouldn't be there if nobody bought it. But it was the first time I'd sort of physically seen this and witnessed the passion about something like that. There wasn't actually a game, but was just a way to change the look of it within. And I don't mind doing that with character generation and stuff when it's already in the game, but I would never really pay for it. And it was just surprising, but good. It was educational for me to see that, like a younger gamer and the passion for that side of things that I've never been able to understand.
Yeah,
and it was an interesting thing.
That's really interesting, actually, because I think I kind of picked up on something you said there, which was I'd prefer to wear something with pride that maybe I've earned in game rather than bought. That
definitely, yeah.
You have, like in Destiny, you have your gear, you have your outfits that you have grinded for hours and hours to get, and it's a badge of honor, isn't it, that you've done that raid, or you've done that strike, or you've done that, and that's better to kind of run around in that rather than, like you say, kind of buy. And I think kind of that also is that kind of culture is also is it Call of Duty as well, that has a lot of aesthetics that you can buy, you can kit out your character as well.
I think so, yeah, and CSGO, because he's got a PC as well, and he's banging to CSGO, and that's got a lot of that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he'd like badges of honour too, but I think there's a real passion about not just the badges of honour, but just making yourself stand out from the crowd with your own stuff that you paid for. It was almost like a real fashion. Like, you'd go out and you go, I got my new trainers. Look at this. This is really cool. It was almost blurring the game from that kind of reality. He felt it's like that degree of coolness from his gaming character. I was like, wow. He's like, yeah, look, I can be a piece of meat. That's awesome. Like Resident Evil, you had to really work hard to play as a piece of tofu. You had to complete the game 3 times. And that, that was a badge of honour. Like you say, Destiny, you must grind and get these certain items. Everyone gives you respect because you've got it. I don't think this is for respect from a skill point of view, but it was just you got respect because, I don't know, maybe it shows that you've got the money to do it. I don't know what it is, but there was something about it that he was very passionate about.
He's got access to his parents' credit card.
He had this mini credit card that I've never seen before. My mate told me, he said, you think it was called O. Henry or something. I mean, no, it's a chocolate bar, isn't it? Anyway, he had this chocolate card. He had this credit card. And my mate said, it's a credit card for kids. It's made of chocolate. He said, he's got his credit card, and then the mum and dad just put money on it as much as they want, and then he can use that. And I was like, you're joking? He's like, yeah. I was like, wow. See, I don't get to see this yet with Sam being 6, but I was thinking, crikey. So.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. You've got, about 4 more years?
Yeah, the way they grow up these days, it'll be gone in a flash. And yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so there we are.
Excellent stuff. Right, and now it's time to head over to the VR news desk for the latest in VR.
VR desk.
Yes, here we are. The VR desk once again. James, welcome back to the VR desk. It's been a not a lonely place, but it's been I think what I'd say that not a lonely place, but a place that's just been slightly less mirthful without your beautiful and wonderful presence.
Well, I have to admit, I don't know if I actually belong here now, because since we last met, I've actually sold my PlayStation VR.
You've given up the ghost.
I have given it up. I as much as I was tempted to potentially jump in with you folk on Star Trek Bridge Crew, I just thought it would be not necessarily a last hurrah, but I've sunk enough money into it without wanting to sink more before it went.
Yeah,
and so I did push it on, thinking that I might be missing out. But after what I saw at E3, I just wasn't convinced. I think quite a few of the ones that were shown also could be played in isolation without the headsets, and so it just tipped my hand, going, I want to recoup some of it, and then I can start putting this towards like an Xbox One X or a 4K telly or something. So start a new tech fund with what I could garner from it. I mean, I think, as I said, but I enjoyed my time with it. I just think the future doesn't seem to be as rosy as I had hoped from that first wave. I mean, it's not quite the Vita just yet, but I'll get out while I can.
The future isn't now for you.
Yeah. I'll come back. I'll come back when I think it's not the tech. I think it's as much the games, the genre, the depth of the catalogue is there for it. That's
fair enough, but it doesn't disqualify you from joining in with us. You can still be a VR groupie at heart for the future. Did you get a good price? Are they still going for a good price, or did you miss the boat?
I got a reasonable price. I basically did it for mates' rates to someone at work, so I wasn't necessarily out to try and claw back as much as I could, just to make sure it got out of the way quickly.
Yeah, and just to make you feel comfortable that you hadn't lost too much.
Yeah. So cool. Did a friend a deal who, curiously, his father-in-law wanted it. He'd dabbled with his PSVR, and then when he heard, I think through the grapevine, that mine was on sale, yes, someone's father-in-law decided to snap it up for me.
So what was the bundle? Was it a PSVR camera and 2 Move controllers?
That was the
whole
one, yes.
Shebang?
Yes.
Oh wow, it's a good bundle there. So everything you need.
Everything you need to get going, yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Well, you tried it, didn't you? You tried it.
Yeah, it was good while it lasted. I think the fact it didn't come out of the cupboard too often this calendar year has probably spoke volume.
Yeah, I've got a similar story actually. My nephew got one for Christmas. Alex, who I was talking about before, we put playing Switch with, and he called me. I think it was last night actually. He was like, "Daz, I'm thinking of selling my PSVR to get a Switch after I've seen your Switch." And I was like, "Oh, great! His mum's going to love me." Like we go around with a Switch, and then it's like we want a Switch.
The new hotness.
Yeah, it's like they wanted PSVR because they came around and saw our Vive. And I was like, Julie, sorry about this. But anyway, he was like, I want to get a Switch, but my mum says I have to sell my PSVR. And I was like, well, do you use the PSVR a lot? And he said, I don't. He said, to be honest, I don't really. It goes, I haven't used it for ages. And I just said to him, well, it'd be better to... Your mum wants you to have something that you'll play. They bought you that for Christmas thinking you'd play it a lot. If you're not playing it a lot, there's no point in having it. I'm sure everyone, including yourself and your mum, would be happier if you traded that in for something that you will use. And I said, I can pretty much guarantee you'll be using the Switch a heck of a lot more, and you can take it with you. And he was like, yeah, that's what he'd sort of decided anyway. So he's going to sell his as well. Just leaves you, Anthony.
Yes.
You going to keep yours?
Yes. I'm just I'm the lone PSVR owner. Yeah, but I mean, like I say, I played it a couple of weeks ago when my dad and my brother came down, which was great fun. And I do have I got given a code for the new zombie game that's come out with the Arizona Frontier or something like that.
Arizona Sunshine.
That's the one. Yeah. So, but I haven't tried it. I need to jump in and have a look at that game. But yeah, no, I'm just finding that we haven't jumped back into Star Trek, which we really need to do. But it is just something that sits in a cupboard. It is in its nice PSVR case, but it's just sitting in a cupboard at the moment. So I did see that there was a trailer today for Dino Frontier, which is going to be coming out this year, which looks quite cool. But as James saying, it is that kind of depth and the titles that just aren't. It's not looking rosy, is it? I still think that I need to kind of jump into some more Star Trek and also play Super Hot. And I think if I play kind of Super Hot and Star Trek, I think I'll be back happy with my PSVR.
Yeah, it's just a bit of faff at the moment. I think Phil Spencer got it right, wasn't he? He was saying it's a bit of a faff. And it is, it's surprising, isn't it? It does deter you for having a faff about to set it up. I think when you've got the right game, it is great, but like you say, the trouble is we're not inundated with fantastic games, and I don't think the devs we've not really discovered its key sort of genre yet, have we? It's like undiscovered. We don't know the perfect. There's no killer app yet, I don't think. I think Star Trek Bridge Crew gets as close as you can get.
Yeah, absolutely. Star Trek Bridge Crew was really good. Resident Evil, I really enjoyed playing Resident Evil because it did just scare the crap out of me, and that's exactly what a Resident Evil game should do. And that
it's
really
probably the most fully featured as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the trouble with me, all that scary stuff, which is amazing, which VR seems perfect for, is that I don't want to do it because it's just too much. I'll just freeze on the spot and not get anywhere, which is fantastic to be that immersed. But on the other hand, it's just like, I'm never going to complete it. But anyway, we can still talk about VR, can't we? I reckon maybe second gen. I think there was a lot of hype maybe about this gen, and it is amazing. But there's some refinements that need to come in and things like that, and we'll see what happens over time. But if you are interested in stepping in right now, it might not be a bad time. I think it was last week we discussed that the Vive had £50 off for a little while. Plus, you got Star Trek Bridge Crew and a £50 Steam voucher. Oculus this week are doing a sale of their own. It's even more tempting. They're knocking £200 off. So the Oculus Rift and the Touch controller bundle that was £600, they're selling it for £399 now.
Wow.
Yeah, they've got a little sale going on. It's running for 6 weeks, pretty much from today. So, from the 10th, it was from the 10th of July. 6 weeks running, £399. Yeah, for the whole shebang.
That's
so
good.
If you're interested it is. If you're interested in an Oculus Rift package and you've got the PC ready for it, then it's not a bad deal at all. And there's some great exclusive Oculus games out there. I mean, you can play them on Vive as well, using the Revive middleware that Palmer Luckey recently decided to donate $2,000 a month to on Patreon. But yeah, if you want a Touch, there's never been a better time to get one. That's quite affordable, really. So that's the first piece of news. The next piece of news is another one of these things where VR helps in the medical sort of sphere. And this one is for people that have had, say, a stroke or some other kind of medical breakdown or whatever, where they're suffering from facial paralysis. So, like a stroke can can sometimes leave people with the face, the muscles in the face not working properly, and there's some other diseases that can cause that as well. Well, what's happened is they've brought out some software and a custom VR that's going to help people to overcome that, because to overcome that, basically, you need to do facial exercises. So the practitioners will recommend that you look into a mirror and do facial exercises to get your face muscles recharged, and so you can do normal expressions again and stuff like that. But a lot of patients apparently are too upset or traumatized to look in a mirror to do it, because they don't like to see what's happened to their face because of whatever it is that's happened. So a Dr. Charles Nduka, he's a consultant plastic surgeon at Queen Victoria Hospital, he's leading a trial into a treatment that discards the mirror, puts the patients into a VR headset that's got facial sensors on it, and they look at an avatar instead of a mirror. So they see an avatar that's loosely based upon them, and then they can do the exercises like that. And they're saying that has a lot more success. People are a lot more keen on doing it. So yeah, that sounds really good. He said over the past 10 years they've found that patients that perform the exercise regularly have better outcomes. But the problem is that these guys, they just can't face it. They've just been through this massive, awful stroke or whatever it's going to be, bad experience. And then when they're looking in the mirror, what they're seeing they don't like. So that's putting them off doing this sort of facial physio. But putting them in the VR headset and then seeing an avatar, takes the mind off it. It's more fun, which means they're going to be more inclined to do it, which means they're more inclined to have a success rate. So
I guess even if you didn't have those sort of issues or those illnesses, just there's a certain self-conscious awareness of staring at yourself in the mirror trying to do anything, isn't it? So just abstracting that away, you can see for anyone would possibly help this go through.
I think you're right. There's a degree of discomfort, isn't there, doing anything staring at itself in the mirror. So yeah, I think that's a really nice thing, and I hope that it succeeds. They're going to do bigger trials in the future as well on that, so that's nice. And finally, my little headline I wrote for this was, if you love VR so much, why don't you marry it? And that's because in Japan we have got men marrying anime video characters in VR.
What?
That's what the new thing is. So there's a Japanese game developer called Hibiki Works, and they recently they headed this up as a PR thing for their game, which is called Nizuma Lovely X Kashon. Nizuma means new wife, and a part of their promotion for the game was to perform a VR assisted wedding for people with their anime character of their dreams.
Oh wow!
It took place in a real chapel, and it was performed by an actual priest. And what they did is they invited some guys in. I think it might have been a competition or something, and the lucky winners got to go up to go up to the chapel. They were told to dress appropriately, so they dressed in the like a morning suit. Then they were given a good thing actually for keeping the sweat off. They got like this weird mask on their face with an eye hole in. That looked really good. It was like a doctor's mask but over your eyes instead of your mouth. And then they got the headset on. It looks like it's a Vive. Then the earphones. And then once they're in there, they can see the anime character in the wedding dress. And from there, the priest does the wedding. And then when they kiss the bride, there's an assistant with a pair of rubber lips on a stick that she presents to the groom.
The look on the assistant's face is priceless as she does that.
As he kisses the bride.
What have I done?
Where is my life going? Oh my god!
It's bizarre, to say the
least. There you go. You see, you might have got rid of your PSVR headsets and stuff.
I'm regretting it. Das.
But now I know you're like, where am I when I could be having a wedding with an anime character? And we can still talk about the VR stuff, though, can't we? We can still talk about. Apparently, the statistic is in Japan, right? Get this: 15% of Japanese men have admitted to falling in love with a meme or game character.
Fair enough.
There you go.
Wow.
And so this
Target market then. Okay.
there's the market for it, and so yeah. But I think the presentation of the rubber lips on a stick for the kissing the bride just is just the icing on the cake to that ceremony.
That is awesome. I'm gonna watch that clip. We'll stick a link
We'll
on the
put the
show
link.
notes. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're interested in watching some Japanese guys get married to the anime woman of their dreams and then kiss rubber lips on a stick, that's the link you want to watch, and I don't think you'll see it anywhere else.
That's the dream. That's the dream.
And that's it. That's all I've got for you today.
Wow. And that's about it for this episode as well. I'm just like, wow. A big thank you for listening. A huge thank you, James, for joining us again this week.
Pleasure, thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Don't forget, you can keep up with us at gamersoflostspark.com. You can also find us on Facebook. On Twitter, we're at LostSparkPod. You can also find us on YouTube and the Gamers of the Lost Spark PS4 community and Xbox One Club. Daz, where can people find you online?
You can get me as Wythermator on PS4, Xbox One, Twitch on Switch, DazAgamer on YouTube, and at DazWhittam on Twitter.
Excellent stuff, James. And where can people catch up with you?
You can find me at Big Sheep on Twitter and all of the major platforms.
Nice. And for me, I'm Chessman on Xbox Live and Nintendo Switch, PS-Chessman on the PlayStation Network, and Chessman UK on Twitter. Don't forget, if you have any feedback, please send it to our email address. That's feedback@gamersoflostspark.com. Also, if you're feeling generous, you can leave us a review on iTunes. That's about it. We'll see you next week for the big 100.
Wow, yeah.
Hype. I love how Daz
Tease
just
it.
Wow.
Tease it, Antony.
Yeah.
All I thought then was, I was like, crikey, I haven't got a clue what we're going to do.
We've got interviews, we've got special guests. No, none of this is
We've
happening.
got giveaways, we've
I'm
got
hoping you've got a
competitions.
greatest hits of the last 100 episodes.
I love that idea. I think Claire might have floated this idea to me. She was like, "Yeah, we could do a best of," and I was like, "Yeah, great." So I sit there and go through 1,000 hours of audio, trying to glean the best out of 99 episodes. I suppose there's worse things to do with my week ahead.
Excellent.
You've heard it here, folks. He's committed.
Committed. That's definitely happening next week.
Did we end it?
I don't know.
Not yet.
I've said bye twice.
Are we gone?
They're all gone. They've gone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Did we say bye?
Bye.
We could do the end. We could rerun the end if you want.
Bye.
That's perfect.
You're joking. We didn't say bye properly. Oh, well, never mind. I'll do what I can with the end of that. That was awful. Oh, maybe it'll sound alright.